because I might have people.
Hey, you can change your location all you want, because guess what? We're live right now. And this is episode 2.5 of the Save the Silly Humans podcast for 2018 on March 3rd. Yeah. So we got my co-host, Fear Porn Propaganda, and my good buddy Bug Smasher here.
Hey.
And we're going to be smashing the shit out of this document that we covered the first part of a couple weeks back. Have you done any research on this, sir, Bug?
Oh, I've listened to the tapes twice and made some notes, drew a bunch of arrows to help illustrate myself how all these agendas connect to each other. And it's not really that complex at all. It all boils down to basically destroying the family and making the state as powerful as possible. That's what all these agendas boil down to.
Absolutely. And Fear Porn, how you doing, buddy?
I'm excellent, thank you.
What have you come across in your studies on this?
Pretty much same thing. I mean, it seems like they want to kill the elderly, and they want to do it kind of like make them want it in themselves. Like they're like, oh, you're gonna die. Well, we'll help you die. Here's a nice pill for you. You know, it's just like, oh, you're not dying. Oh, we'll give you some cancer, and that'll help you die, and then we'll help you die that way. You know, I mean, that's the kind of.
Oh, you don't want cancer? Then we'll just poison your food, or we'll just fuck up your kids so that they can't procreate, and we'll not have kids that way.
Thing really like took the cake for me was how they called it humane.
Yeah, well, they don't think of themselves as evil, apparently.
No, they don't, and that's a diabolical bit.
Euthanasia humanely.
All right, so people, if you're unaware and you're just tuning in, what this is basically, this is a reference to it was not a broadcast, but a recording that was done back in 1988, which was Dr. Lawrence Dunegan, who spoke up about his witnessing of a speech made by Dr. Day.
Yeah.
Dr. Richard Day. And he was basically a member of the Planned Parenthood Committee, and basically an insider to the whole Agenda 2030, Agenda 21 thing, but
Richard Day was not Dunegan.
No, not Dunegan. No, Dunegan was just an innocent bystander. He was just some guy who just witnessed a speech in 1969. He didn't even come out with this until 1988.
But he was also a student, so he's in the pediatric field.
Well, he's in the pediatric field, but I mean, he was hard pressed. Out of several, he was hard pressed to come out with this.
I feel like he's kind of a whistleblower in that sense.
Well, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. He's absolutely a whistleblower. But the funny thing is, and I think you both will agree, is that this shit got said in 1969, 1968, arguably, whatever. But it was recorded on these tapes in 1988. And it basically resonates with everything that is happening now.
Yeah, it was for back in the 80s, for when it was recorded, it was cutting edge information.
Absolutely.
We take it right now. A lot of the listeners would be aware of these agendas, but back then, this was not something that was widely discussed, even among people who were awake to New World Order, let alone the general public.
Yeah. No, this is, I mean, we do have to thank, and I do have to send a shout out to Kafka Winston World, aka Never Lose Truth. She has a great channel. You guys have to check out her YouTube channel before she gets demonetized or shut down. Yeah. Oh yeah. And that's another story. But seriously, she's brilliant. She's done a lot of work in this area, and she brought this to light. And it's absolutely bizarre how nobody in these truther circles has picked up on this. This is the thing that really concerns me, is that nobody has actually picked up on this.
A lot of people are familiar with the protocols of the learned elders of Zion, but I personally have not even heard of this particular tape before. You brought it up, but even though this tape in many ways mirrors or complements the protocols, it's just a more modern version of their agenda.
Yeah. Well,
I didn't get to hear your whole show last night. Did you get to tell Jeff about it?
Well, we didn't go into that actually last night. We were on about we were on about prepping, and we were on about other issues.
YouTube purge.
Yeah, I heard a lot of it. I missed like an hour chunk or so.
Yeah, we and then by the time I got involved, we kind of segued through a bunch of different stuff, so we really didn't kind of crash onto this.
Okay. I did hear that you got to tell him about that show though, the Altered Carbon.
Oh yeah, I did mention that. Cool. Yeah, well, I mean, it goes it's part and parcel with the whole transhumanism agenda, and oh gosh, I honestly, I've got another.
We also need to talk about humans.
Humans?
Yeah, that's another.
What are those?
Sorry.
I'm just joking. But I digress. No. There's another show too, which also, as futuristic as Altered Carbon is, there's another show on Netflix called The Frankenstein Chronicles, which is equally as transhumanistic and just as freaky. Actually, almost disgustingly freaky, to be fair. But that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah, I'm just starting that one, so I'll have to get deeper into it before I have a conversation about it.
Yeah, no, that's cool. So the last podcast that we did, we covered the first tape. Yeah. And we got as far as, we had controlling who has access to information, schools as a hub of the community. Some books would just disappear from the libraries. Remember all this, right?
Yeah, which we called like Mandela effect.
The potential for the Mandela effect, which, yeah, changing laws, which has been happening. The encouragement of drug abuse to create a jungle atmosphere. I mean, that
and the police state.
Yeah. Demise pill, which isn't called the demise pill, but I mean, there's something that it's like over here in California, we have a law that passed like in June of about right to die, and of last year, and the people from last year, that there was 111 or so that have actually signed up and died using it.
Actually, a fair point. Go on about that. I just highlighted the euthanasia and the demise pill heading in the transcript there. Yeah, go on about that, because you found something very interesting about that.
Yeah, just recently, apparently, like, I mean, I live in California, but I'm not even aware of that. But I was going through like someone else's like documents of like things that are happening in the past, and I was like a year behind. So I was going through the year, and I came across this like article that was talking about 111 like people that actually died using a using the right to die law, which
We have the same agenda in Canada here too.
which happens to be about like, you know, people that are terminally ill. They have like 6 months to decide if they want to take this medication. I mean, they can decide to do that. It's like a, it's optional. It's not like, you know, mandatory.
For now.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the idea behind the people that are gonna die anyway. They can choose to die quicker than go out through the process of their, you know, illness.
So
That's all created by these people.
do you remember what was it Kevorkian?
Yeah, I was like just having an argument with.
but it was unheard of. It was absolutely, it was
in prison for killing people that wanted to die.
yeah, well, it was a criminal offense to kill someone that wanted to die, but unless, I mean, if you were a medical practitioner and one of your patients said, "Oh, can you off me?" It's like,
well, it's also the people that are like, supposedly like
but no, it's a moral question, though. It's a moral question. It's like no, or yes. I mean, okay. Ask yourself. Ask yourself this question. Ask yourself this question. If you were dying, would you not want it to actually control your death by your own hands? And in that case, entrust that to someone that you trust with your health.
Well, when it comes to some sort of medicational like setting,
well, that's another argument. That's another story. I'm asking you a simple question. If you were dying of a terminal illness and you were in fear of not being in control of your own death, would you not want somebody that you trusted to be able to carry it out for you on your terms?
I'm not sure. That's a good question. I don't know about my mortality on that level because I'm very like.
But this is the question that the entire subject is based upon, though, because they ended up legislating it and making it legal.
It almost seems like if you're in that terminal ill state, then you will do it.
Well, what they hope for, and I will say this back and forth, is that what they are hoping for is that you are not capable of making that decision for yourself.
Oh, right. Mental illness, right?
That's what they're looking for. Bug?
Oh yeah, we have the same agenda here in Canada. I see articles on this almost every week in the Canadian press, where they are actively promoting the idea of terminally ill patients deciding to take their own life through what essentially is an executioner doctor. Through an execution administered by a doctor. And for now, it's obviously promoted as liberating. But I have a sneaking suspicion, just judging by how these people work, is that down the road, it's not going to be voluntary. It's going to be mandatory. And this is mentioned in the tapes that eventually, at least according to their plan, the goal is to administer these either lethal injections or demise pills on a mandatory basis to people who reach a certain age. And of course, this is purely evil. And but what we should focus on, I think, is how they will gradually implement this agenda. And I think that, yeah, like I said, they will start with terminally ill cancer patients and people like that who take it as their own decision. And then I believe next they will progress to criminals in jails. They usually take that route when they implement their agendas. Say things like microchips and wearable bracelets, wearable tracking bracelets. they will say that some of these people are so horrific in jail, living in jails, and why do we need to waste money on feeding them and housing them? It's just better to just give them the demise bill. That's how I believe it will unfold. Thoughts?
Well, I mean, the way that they implement it in these tapes is that they want us to want it.
Well, eventually, yes, it will be promoted as basically as a matter of fact.
I think is the first step towards this scenario.
Yeah, but eventually they will condition people to accept it as something that is completely normal.
Look at the vaccination scenario, especially here in California. We're like forced to vaccinate our children in schools now.
I'm pretty sure that's not just California.
Hey, in Canada, actually, I just saw this on the news today. And 1990, in 1990 in Canada, they instilled there's a law that children have to be vaccinated to participate in school. This is a 1990 law here in Canada.
Wow. In
1990. I'm not kidding you.
Well, I spent I was born in Russia, but I moved to Canada when I was in grade 10, and nobody asked me about my vaccination.
Medals back then?
Well, it's one of those things that I grant are probably not very enforceable because of different municipalities and the way that things work. But when they go and pass legislation like that, you really don't have anywhere to turn. Do you follow me?
Yeah, if you go out of line, they can apply. They can slap you down with that.
That's right, and that's where I'm going with this. I mean, I didn't even know that until today. I mean, I heard about states that were passing legislations to grant school nurses the right to give vaccinations to their students without parental consent, and all these other things. But Jesus, crying out fucking loud, a law that says that kids have to be vaccinated in order to participate in a public school scenario. That is over the fucking top.
Well, that brings us to the educational aspect of this document, which basically tells us that they're going to dumb down children in main schools, and private schools are going to actually educate.
And psychiatric care in schools as well. There will be psychiatrists in every school who will administer drugs to unruly kids. This is definitely mentioned in there.
Right.
And we see this was implemented years ago. We have nurses basically administering psychotropic drugs to kids in order to pacify them.
It's mind-boggling. I mean, but this is out of the mouth of somebody in 1988 who overheard a conversation and a lecture in 1969.
Now,
long before any of us.
My understanding is he made notes and then he actually used his notes in 88.
Oh, use his notes for what?
Like when he went home, he wrote down stuff.
Oh, I'm sure he did.
And then
I'm sure he went well through it. But the thing is you got to remember, if you go back, wow.
But why in 88? Why did he wait so long? It's like my trying to understand.
No. This is what I'm getting at. If you go back to 1988, I mean, you're in your 30s, right?
Yeah, I'm 38. No,
right. Yeah. So you were alive in the 80s and early 90s. Shit didn't flow so well back then.
Right.
So, I mean, we didn't have speed of light internet happening until probably for most people for the majority of people, not until like
It reminds me of
97
baseball.
or 98. It was 97 or 98 for the majority of people. And for a very select few, it wasn't until 1992 or 1993. I mean, I ran a bulletin board system and I piggybacked Fido Opus message packets to send them overseas on the internet. And I did that in 93. But there weren't websites yet.
Right.
Okay. So, I mean, it was
Well, you had purpose. I mean, it seemed like there'd have to be a purpose in order for the internet to be used at that time.
well,
It wasn't just for fun.
it was basically, I mean, I was against the internet from day one because I knew who fucking started it.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it was based on a DARPA initiative. I knew that already because I had done my research and I had done that in the 90s as a young man. And I already knew where this was headed, to be fair.
Yeah, I figured you would, because you were there and you were able to see the progression. Plus, you were in the deeper elements of it, knowing computer code and things like that.
Right. But the biggest factor of this is that it has been used. Crap. I lost my train of thought. It's been basically utilized over the years. It's changed in its utilization.
Yeah, I think they first allowed it to develop in this sort of a Wild West fashion where anything goes and complete freedom to do whatever people wanted on the internet, and gradually all forms of human activity, or at least most forms of human activity, like communication and banking, shopping, all gradually moved to the internet. And as soon as that happened, they started to clamp down. And you see what I'm trying to say is that the plan was to get everybody hooked on the internet first by allowing an extremely free kind of flow information, and then clamp down. When everybody's hooked, it's
you get everybody hooked.
them.
And then you get the tree hugging hippies. You get the tree hugging hippies that are spouting for free internet, free and awesome internet that anybody can use, right?
You know, like that saying, the free cheese can only be found in the mousetrap.
Yeah, right. And we call this net neutrality. And then you get this stupid fucking war between the FCC and Comcast that has to get settled by the Supreme Court, who knows nothing about the technology whatsoever. So you get this fucking, like, it's a fucking bullshit paradigm to begin with. So you get bullshit times bullshit equals an insurmountable amount of bullshit at the end of the day. It's fucking disgusting. And when I hear people go on about net neutrality, it's like, fuck off. DARPA created the internet in 1967. In 1997, we were able to use it when the World Wide Web was created by, guess who? CERN.
87, right?
87, sorry.
Yeah.
87. Yeah, CERN created the World Wide Web. I mean, like, if people don't get it through their thick fucking skulls that this has been a quest for domination from the very beginning, they're just retard rats running through a maze looking for cheese. And what was the analogy that you used just earlier?
Well, I said the free cheese can only be found in a mousetrap.
That's right.
And they want free stuff.
That's right. Always. And guess what? If something is for free, the product is you.
Yeah, there's always a catch with freedom.
Yeah, well, nothing is for free. And if you're getting something for free, then the product is you.
One of the lines I used to say in one of my poems was, you have to pay to be free in America. But that's in America. You're in Canada, so I don't know how it's like.
It's no different here. Are you kidding me? We're both in Commonwealth countries. It's the same shit, different pile, different day.
I just can't speak from you know, like experience.
Now we're in the same pile of manure.
Am I right?
Yeah. True. I mean, it's like the reason why we communicate with each other is because we have common ideas about things.
Well, before the days of the internet, we were able to do this. It was a different technology, and there were different methods. No. We could do this. We could do this over analog phone lines and utilizing BBS technology and other shit. No. We were completely and fully capable of doing this kind of networking on our own. We didn't need the internet to begin with. But oh yeah, was that your phone?
Made noise, yeah.
Oh, I'm wearing headphones. That hurt. But I digress. Holy crap!
It's
Nine thumbs down already.
Know something about like a YouTube video. That's all.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, continue.
I got 9 thumbs down here. People really, really, really hate me. I don't know why, but hey, whatever.
Hey, it could be me.
Wow.
And I'm just kidding. I mean, people don't even know who I am. I'm so out of the loop. Nobody knows who I am.
All right.
And I never showed myself before either. Like
Rob,
when I
do you want to go?
Your point. I never showed myself. So
let's get back on track here.
Yeah, tape 2.
Start going point by point.
Yeah. So if we got into the encouragement of drug abuse to create a jungle atmosphere, alcohol abuse, restrictions on travel. Actually, that's where I wanted to pick up. Was restrictions on travel. And this is a funny bit that came out. If this came out in 1969, this restrictions on travel bit is actually quite important. Okay. Mr. Dunegan goes to say, this also had connection with something we'll go to later about overall restrictions on travel. Not everybody should be free to travel the way they do now in the United States. People don't have a need to travel that way. It's a privilege, ! It was kind of the high-handed, the way it was put. That was horrible grammar. Again, much more in the way of psychological services will be made available to help those who got hooked on drugs and alcohol. The idea being that in order to promote this drug and alcohol abuse, to screen out some of the unfit people who are otherwise pretty good, would also be subject to getting hooked. And if they were really worth their salt, they would have enough sense to seek psychological counseling and to benefit from it. What does this have to do with travel?
I think it was just got lumped together. This is, I think the author of this article just should have started another paragraph. This has nothing to do with travel. Yeah. It's a separate agenda.
They started with the travel, but then it like goes into this whole drug like war thing.
Yeah, and it's a weird segue, and you know, I would agree with you, Bug. I would totally agree with you on that. However, it's a weird segue because it starts off with "it's a privilege!" And it was a kind of a high-handed way to put it. You know, the way that it kind of segues into it, it goes back into the drug war, I guess you could say. Because
I was listening to this today. I was listening to the tape and
drug war, like setup of drug war.
I'm pretty sure this just got lumped together. This should have been separate paragraphs because I was listening to these tapes today, just a few hours ago, and I remember this paragraph. He wasn't saying it as a continuation of the restriction on travel. It was like a different point that he was making. And
Oh, really?
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
good.
It was like a gap.
Yeah, there was a gap. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes more sense.
He was just doing a sort of an information dump, and he was, he was not all of these points that he was making are in a sort of a in an order that makes sense, right?
So it's a horrible transcript, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
No, the transcript is probably fine as far as the words go, but there should have been a break in here. There should have been two paragraphs.
Beginning of the transcript that it's better heard than read.
Yeah, it's better heard than read. That's why I listened to the tapes, not read it.
Yeah, I want to do that myself so I can hear how the guy sounds.
But those first three sentences though do say a lot. Which, if you go back to about 2008, is it 2008, 2007? That's when they introduced the drivers, it's for Canadian and for Americans. They introduced the chip travel, the specialized driver's license.
Yeah, I remember it, but I have not used it, or I don't.
Nor I. I mean, it costs like a couple $100. It's about $70 extra to get that, and it's of no benefit.
Well, I don't think the card is part of the agenda as much as the as pricing people out of car ownership and transferring them to bikes, especially in cities. And I see this. I live in an extremely how would I put it? I live basically in the new old auto hub, which is Vancouver. This city is rapidly transforming itself into a nice little Agenda 2030 commune. I see, especially if you go close to the city center.
I call it Van China, but
well, there's that going on as well. But
happening. Sorry.
There's an active agenda of forcing cars from the streets and replacing them with bike lanes and rental bikes. I see this everywhere in the city now. Whole bridge.
Rental bikes here too. They're like stupid. They look like girl bikes, like where the thing goes down instead of over.
Yeah. And
like the ones in San Francisco, those look like guy bikes, like they had the thing going over.
Yeah, and now they are also raising the rates for car insurance sharply here in British Columbia, where I live, and judging by how much they will raise the prices on the car insurance, I can definitely suspect that at least a certain portion of the population will decide to ditch their car, especially if they don't have to commute very far, and they will hop on a bike, because right now there is no bike
I did that
insurance.
for a while in Sacramento until like somebody hit me, and then like I had to start driving again because like my bike was bent.
Yeah. No, I noticed exactly what you're talking about in Edmonton. Same thing there. I lived in BC. I lived in Kelowna for a good 4 or 5 years.
And Kelowna is a retirement community mostly.
Yeah, well that's where you got all your what do you call them?
Scooters.
Yeah. That's where people go to die. and spend their well-earned dollars on their kids
and golfing.
Yeah, true story. So
it's like you're Florida.
Great orchards, though. I mean, gosh, it's
a beautiful area. No doubt about it.
I mean, in America, Florida is like the place where people go to die.
Yeah, it's a retirement. Yeah, no, it's
play golf.
It's similar. It's a retirement place.
Parties, a lot of parties.
It's very rich. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Kelowna's like that. I mean, Kelowna's pretty much kind of like a match head in the corner of our country with an international airport, and there's only one reason for it. It's to get these rich motherfuckers there, and that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't want to drive 6 hours from Vancouver. They don't want to come 8 hours from Edmonton or Calgary, depending which way you go. I've driven both ways, but I digress. Yeah, no, no. What the hell is the point of my conversation?
Restriction on transportation is what we're talking
Restriction
about.
on transportation. Yes, restriction on transportation
And
is.
how they're telling us it's a privilege, not like a right.
Well, I mean, they're making it harder to get passports.
You know,
Sorry,
like getting a
sorry
license.
for reporting.
Oh, I'm sorry. When you go to DMV and you get a license here in California, they tell you that it's a privilege, not a right, to drive.
Well, it's a privilege under statute.
That's what all the Canadian sheeple think too. You ask any person on the street, is it driving a privilege or a right? I'm pretty sure 99% of the people will tell you that's a privilege.
Yes. Are you the owner operator of your vehicle?
Well, not really, right? Because you have to go and pay for.
Yeah, actually,
No.
the state owns your vehicle.
Yeah.
No, I'm a traveler.
They're loaning it. They're loaning it to you.
But the thing is, though, is that if you answer the question, you are
Submit to
obliged. You're subject to their statute. If you answer positively to the question, are you an owner operator of this vehicle, you automatically accept the
terms and
contract, the terms of the statute of the owner operator contract. So
yeah, and when you hand over the license to the whoever stopped you, you mention it. Yeah, you tell them this is the. If they force you to hand over the license, you tell them this is. It says right on the card it's the property of whatever government it was issued by. This is not yours.
It does say that.
You can't say that.
No, it does say that. You're right.
Yeah, and it does say that it's property of whatever government of British Columbia in this case.
Yeah, they own it and they can take it back at any time.
Yeah, so you say this is not mine. This is
DC.
Forever to take it. It's not mine. I have nothing.
No, it's DC. You're probably District of Columbia. For us.
United States is a District of Columbia.
Exactly. So like everything pretty much governmental is pretty much District of Columbia.
Well, no, that only applies. Well, no, okay. Now you're getting into federal. You're getting into federal versus state and municipal jurisdictions. The thing is that
federal rules supreme over America, and then state is like per state.
Yeah, but the thing is, you just said it right there. State means statutory. And
yeah, but a lot of the federal laws like overrule the state laws.
Right, but statutory law only runs and coincides along with your actual rights, your actual. I mean, here we have the Bill of Rights. In the UK, we got the Magna Carta.
We have a Bill of Rights as well. It probably is not the same. The police also in our state or in our whatever country has the a Bill of Rights, and it stops you from being able to look through their stuff. If they were like accused of murder or something like that, well, you can't go and look in their locker for the murder weapon, for instance, because of the Bill of Rights.
Yeah. That's fucking horrible.
Isn't that a load of crap?
Yeah. It's special rights that other people don't have.
But the thing is, it's all about the jurisdiction. It's all about the jurisdiction. If you accept the jurisdiction under a court of law, under statute, then guess what? you've accepted whatever punishment they deem necessary in that court.
Court of law, it's all the law of the sea, not the law of the land. And you're basically on a ship dealing with the captain of the ship.
That's true, yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize that when they're inside of a court. They think they're in lands. They're going to have land laws. That's why they have lawyers, because the lawyers all know that.
Well, lawyers are under the bar, under the statutes, and they operate under such.
Yeah, they are officers of the court. They do not work for you.
They're officers of the court.
Like
exactly.
For the person that they're, helping out or hurting.
Yeah, but their first allegiance is to the court.
Oh, always. And again, that's Saturn.
Under that statute.
Down to Saturn, because those court people worship Saturn.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's another conversation for another day.
Yeah, let's not go too deep in that.
Don't want to get back. But yeah, just on the big aspect, the sovereign aspect, it's the law of the sea, and while you're there, you're basically having to obey the captain. Captains throw you off the ship.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is, though. I just don't. I never really put that together.
Well, there's a big reason for that. Actually, the Magna Carta actually kind of delves into how the biggest scam in human history was ever created, and that's our birth registrations. But that's that's another conversation for another day.
Dominus Maximus.
What? I'm talking about the straw man, aka your
birth certificate.
Your birth certificate is is bought and sold on the market.
Yeah, that is Dominus Maximus, because basically the idea behind Dominus Maximus is everything that you capitalize with your name. So you say your license, or at the DMV, or maybe your IRS papers, your taxes, things like that. Your card that you hold in your pocket, it's all capitalized, right?
Yeah.
That means that you're not a human being, you're a corporation.
I wanted to stay away from the word constitution. I tried my damn best to stay away from using that word. But yeah, it's a constitutional right. In the United States, anyway. In Canada, we don't have a constitution.
Right. I don't know how that works.
All we have is a Bill of Rights. But guess what? Our Bill of Rights is inherited from the Magna Carta, which is British. And that gives us God-given rights, just like the Constitution has, kind of rewritten a little bit.
Okay.
But I'm telling you that our AKA constitutional rights are no different. Now, mind you, we don't have the right to bear arms. However, we do have the right to protect ourselves. Mm-hmm. So they're not underwritten in that sense. And this is why America, in my opinion, America is one of the last bastions of good space left, where people can make the responsible choice, because they were granted through amendments. They were granted absolute right to protect themselves. Yeah, here we're no better. We're no better than a fucking British colony here in Canada.
Yeah, but if you do a survey in America and you ask the random person that's not a truther, about the Second Amendment, I bet you they won't be able to tell you it correctly.
Most people can't tell you fucking shit because they're not educated in any of this fucking stuff.
And they probably see it differently than you see it, because it's our understanding is it's the right to bear arms against federal
against a deer.
Yeah. So, but is what they think is you should only have guns for hunting.
There's no way you should. Yeah, there's no way you should argue the Second Amendment with those
of tyranny against the government, or the government having tyranny against you.
Yeah, this is the trap that they try to set out for Second Amendment advocates. Is they try to frame the argument in such a way that you have to defend your right to hunt or to protect your home, but this is not what the Second Amendment has anything to do with it.
And I signed up medical originally over here until they like took that away. But basically, because of that, they told us that we can't have guns because they consider us mentally disabled, essentially.
Oh, yeah.
If you're a cannabis user.
Right. Because cannabis was already delineated as a potential for psychosis
because
back in the 60s. Back in the 60s. And the thing is that again, we're back on the road of statutes. See, statutes are built on top of the Constitution. See, the Constitution overrides all statutes that come after it. Technically, they're supposed to. However,
they kind of have loopholes around it, though.
Well, no, in the jurisdiction of statutes, if you have the state, you no longer have a constitutional court of law because it is
an admiralty court.
Statutory. That's right. And then you're out of that jurisdiction. And then once you align yourself in that jurisdiction by admission, by stating that, yes, I am a X, Y, or Z in this scenario, you are part of that statutory court. And if you want to try and find yourself a constitutional lawyer, have fucking fun. It won't happen.
Right.
It won't happen. Because you're going to have to get yourself a lawyer of the bar. And the bar is going to be based on the statute, which is based on the state that you live in. See where I'm going with this? It's all about jurisdiction.
Yeah.
And it's pretty fucked up. I mean, this is what they do to everybody. And you know, it sounds confusing as hell, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is confusing.
And you know, you got American TV coming over to Canada. You got Canadian actors and Justin Bieber coming over to America. I mean, crap. Where does it end?
Most of our comedians in like what do you call it, Hollywood? Not most of them. A lot of them. Not most of them. A lot of them are Canadians.
You want to know why the best comedians come from Canada?
Yeah.
I'll tell you why. Because y'all are so fucked up. We just make fun of you.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
Anyway, I'm just being funny. Anyway.
No.
But hey, look, moving forward on this here, in the tape 2 here, there is the no more security clause where nothing is permanent. Streets would be rerouted, renamed.
Yeah, we'll be allowed to deteriorate.
Yeah. Areas you had not seen in a while would become unfamiliar. Among other things, this would contribute to older people feeling that it was time to move on.
Yeah, that already happening in like areas like in Loomis over here. Like it used to be just land and whatnot. Now it's like all these malls and things are popping up, and it's confusing the older people.
Oh yeah, and even in my old hometown, of Hamilton, I mean, it used to be a mecca. It was a steel town. Now, fucking hipsters are taking it over. There's like,
I went to the Doco Arena, whatever, to watch a movie, you know, because they have the theater there, and the seats, like, okay, we want those seats that like recline, right? Because they're comfortable and stuff. The seats there only recline so far, so your like legs don't go all the way up; they only go like halfway. I'm like, what's the point of this? And then we get to a certain, like, it's like assigned seating, and you end up like sitting in a certain spot that you picked, and someone in front of you doesn't recline, so it shows. So the person in front of you is like right like at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
Who designed that shit? Anyway, go ahead. Sorry, I would sidebar.
No worries, mate.
This grinds my gears.
But here's the thing, though, is that that reconstruction of, I guess, I don't know, to use the term loosely, the topology of a neighborhood, by reconstructing it, you get into crime. And if you have crime management, now you have social management. Because if you have a crime element, you can maintain one or the other and then create an influx of politics regarding one or the other. And this is where the next chapter comes in, the crime used to manage society.
Yeah, and we will also probably, all of you probably know that most of the drugs are imported by alphabet agencies into the country, into our countries. And one of the reasons why they do it is to use the drugs as the relief or as the control valve for our society. They can, because they import the drugs, they also control the price of the drugs. If they want to increase the crime and make people cry out for more legislation, what they do first is lower the price of the drugs and flood the streets with the whatever opioids and
well, right now,
and other kinds of hard drugs. And
right now, the worst thing on the planet right now is fentanyl.
Yeah, and who supplies it? Where does it come from?
The government.
Yeah,
that's like the demise pill, basically.
To some extent, yes. But also, one of the reasons that they do this,
sense of thinking it's a demise pill.
Yeah, what they're trying to achieve here is when they flood the streets with those drugs and make them readily available and cheap, then at any given moment, if they want the crime rates to suddenly rise and for the general population, the middle class, to cry out for basically an expansion of the police state, all they have to do is to simply raise the prices and lower the availability of those drugs. And now the whole population of druggies that was consuming those drugs on a daily basis, they lose their shit. They start breaking it.
And you know what? And here's a funny thing, is that I am 3 times over first aider. I've had my level 1 first aid certificate twice. I've had a level 2 first aid certificate once. I've also got my military first aid certificate, which is a little bit different. It's kind of an awkward bit because then you can deal with sucking chest wounds and all kinds of shit.
Oh.
Right? But my point is that people don't want to deal with shit.
True that, man.
Period.
Yeah.
And it bugs the living shit out of me. It bugs the living shit out of me. It's like, if it doesn't affect me, I don't want nothing to do with it. And you know what? That mentality allows people to fucking die. That mentality allows the system to go into fucking destabilization. That mentality allows everybody to fucking suffer. This is, oh, it doesn't affect me. But guess what? At the end of the day, it affects fucking everybody.
Yeah, that's true.
Those same people are being affected by scenarios that are occurring somewhere, and they see it on CNN or whatever because it's being spread there.
Oh, yeah, on brainwashed TV.
They're saying it to you.
Fuck. What are you going to do then, right?
I know. It's just like catch-22, but you can't say your thing even though they're telling you their thing.
No, you can't, because they'll fucking hate you at the end of the day. And then
Like,
I mean, you shut yourself down the second you open your fucking mouth. You shut yourself down because nobody wants to listen to your shit.
yeah, and I'm really bad because I talk about the gematria all the time, and people hate it.
Well, no. You lose them because you lose them in numbers. That's
I know, but I don't. But I don't always speak in numbers when I'm talking about the gematria. I lead in scenario.
No. I'm only joking, man. I'm not
get into numbers.
I'm not trying to be offensive at all. But you know what I'm saying, though.
I do.
Is that people just don't want to comprehend, and lately the biggest problem is that nobody wants to learn anything. Nobody wants to jump out of the box of their head and actually learn something new. Nobody. It's like if it's not if it's not handed to them or spoon fed or give it to them by a commercial or a popular show or something, they don't want it. They don't want fuck all to do with it. And it's absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, but I think that's by design. That's all, you know.
It's absolutely by design. It's absolutely by design.
Oh, well, then there you go. So it's like when you watch a movie with a person, you know, and that person's just a normal person that doesn't research things, doesn't see things for as they like basically are actually happening, I guess. They're seeing
Bless
the
their soul.
reality. And you watch the same movie with them, but then like you're seeing all of these symbols show up, references to numbers, Saturn, like elements, and like scary, like, you know, storylines that are driven, you know, father killing son scenarios, and they end up like disagreeing with you on your levels because of you're seeing the real elements and they're seeing the false elements.
Bug, so what do you got to say?
Essentially, with said person, right? But then it becomes an argument because that debate becomes about belief.
Yeah, I'm not, to be honest, I'm not sure what subject we're exactly on right now. Are we still on crime?
No.
As a way of
we've
drifted off a little bit.
We kind of drifted away there, yeah. All right, so going back to crime being used to manage society, and this is where we create slums. Now, remember,
and surveillance technology.
Yeah, but this was stated in 1969. Oh, go ahead there. Sorry,
you guys. How much do you see cops like on a daily basis or whatever? Like when you go out,
a lot.
You're going out every day. When you go out, would you say like 9 times out of 10 you see a cop that day?
Oh, I see every day. I have a pretty long commute though, so I see the.
Oh, you live in BC, so you see the RCMP all the time.
Yeah, we have RCMP and we have local, like municipal police.
You do have. Oh, yeah, you're in Vancouver, right?
Yeah, we have Vancouver Police Department.
Yeah, you do have
Abbotsford Police Department.
Right. Over your guys' area.
Yeah. In Kelowna, there's no municipal police in Kelowna.
Yeah, but what's the difference? They're all the same. They're all dressed the same. They all carry the same equipment, and they all work with each other. Yeah, so it doesn't make a difference.
But here in Ontario, though, we have the OPP, the Ontario Provincial Police, and then it does migrate downwards to the municipal level, where we have actual Kitchener Police, we have Hamilton Police. Yeah, you don't see that in the Western provinces, though. Well, except for Vancouver, and maybe Slurry.
No, Surrey is RCMP, but Abbotsford is not. Abbotsford has its own force, but they're all the same. It doesn't make a difference.
I call it Stabbotsford, but yeah.
Musical interruption.
All right. I appreciate if you would not do that.
Reject. There we go.
I have to go for a pee. If you wouldn't mind going and reading off this slum bit there, Bug. I'd appreciate that.
Okay, 1 second. Is it on? Okay, I have to scroll down. Okay, so crime used to manage society. There would be the created slums and other areas well maintained. That's kind of bad grammar, but okay. Those people able to leave the slums for better areas then would learn to better appreciate the importance of human accomplishment. This meant that if they left the jungle and came to civilization, so to speak, they could be proud of their own accomplishments that they made it. There was no related sympathy for those who were left behind in the jungle of drugs and deteriorating neighborhoods. And yeah, we do see that in larger cities. People who live in suburban areas, they don't really care about what's going on in the inner cities. Then a statement that was kind of surprising. We think we can effectively limit crime to the slum areas, so it won't be spread heavily into better areas. I should maybe point out here that these are obviously not word-for-word quotations after 20 years, but where I say that I'm quoting, I'm giving the general drift of what was said close to word for word. Perhaps not precisely so.
Let me interject there.
Sure.
Is that's an admission that this is 20 years since he heard this.
Yeah. Yeah, so this might not be 100% accurate. But yeah, and he...
So 1969 to 1988 or 89, you know, I mean, give or take some months. I mean, his recollection of this is remarkably accurate.
Yeah, I mean, as far as we can tell, yeah.
I don't mean accurate so much in his recollection of what he heard, but what I'm saying is that what he heard and detailed to us is rather accurate of what's actually happening.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
It does make sense, yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
One of the best bits here is but anyhow, I remember wondering, how can he be so confident that the criminal element is going to stay where he wants it to stay? But he went on to say that increased security would be needed in the better areas. That would mean more police, better coordinated police efforts.
Yeah, we see that a lot.
He did not say so, but I wondered at the time about the moves that were afoot to consolidate all the police departments of suburbs around the major cities. I think the John Birch Society was one that was saying, support your local police, don't let them be consolidated. And I remember wondering if that was one of the things he had in mind about security. But you know what? Scratch that and look to what they've done politically here with support the troops. You know, they built the whole support the troops movement.
And the whole Blue Lives Matter and
but then they went and they bolstered the police. They pretty much completely funded the police based on everything that happened after 9/11.
Yeah, now all the police departments are equipped with surplus military gear.
Oh, they are military. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, they're completely militarized now.
The police are absolutely military now. They're not cops. They're fucking SWAT. Every single fucking one of them.
Well, not every single one, but yeah, they're definitely an inappropriately large number of SWAT officers in each department. That's
Well, I mean, mentality-wise.
yeah, mentality-wise, yeah. They treat the citizens as enemy combatants as opposed to somebody who they serve.
Yeah, they don't serve and they don't protect anymore.
They're full of psychopaths. Yeah. Yeah, they're actually some of the people who go into those jobs. They see it as a way to exercise power over other citizens without any repercussions. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the people who work in SWAT teams are probably the worst ones of all.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, SWAT is basically paramilitary. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but this is also the people who sign up for those jobs. They expect to kill others, and they're selected for having the right qualities to accomplish those jobs. And well, what kind of people do you get there?
Well, enter the RCMP. They're guns for hire. RCMP are no different than any other corporation or militarized black box group.
Yeah,
they're exactly the fucking same.
They're freaking pirates.
No, the RCMP are guns for hire. They were there during the what was it in Montreal, the Charlie Hebdo no Hebdo was in France, sorry, the other guy, that shooting that involved
Michael Zehaf Bebo.
Zehaf Beboff, that's the guy, yeah, Zehaf, yeah, that was completely and totally arranged and held by the RCMP, and it was proven. It was absolutely proven by a camera from a lawyer looking across the lot that saw all of the cars like lined up waiting for this thing to happen. And it was the only camera view, by the way, that was not turned off during the whole event.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the RCMP is just another gang that you have to deal with on a daily basis.
You know what? They are. I highly recommend looking into these people. If you look into the RCMP, you will find that they are exactly guns for hire on a federal level.
Oh yeah, they go crush all the protests on First Nations lands, and yeah.
Your municipal police, I don't have a problem trusting them. I don't have a problem trusting.
I have a problem. They have the same mentality that.
To a degree, I mean, from an individual to individual perspective, you're gonna get different police. Even in the OPP, which is kind of raised up to the provincial level from the municipal, they're not all bad. I mean, on an individual level, I don't think all RCMP guys are bad, to be fair. But as a group, as an organized group following orders, no, they are completely and totally they basically work for whoever is paying them, and that's the sad fucking truth.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sorry, Fearporn, we got away from your jurisdiction. How are your police?
That's fine.
But yeah, here in Canada, it's pretty fucked up too. It's not much different.
No, we have all the. I've seen the armored vehicles here, and it's all the same.
Actually, it's pretty interesting hearing that stuff because I didn't realize that.
Oh yeah, no, it's not all fucking rainbow kittens here, buddy. It's we got We have exactly the same problems, and a lot of people don't realize this is that we are a British outpost. First and foremost, we are a British outpost.
So it's essentially all about the monarchy.
We burnt down your first fucking White House, motherfucker. But nobody wants to look back at that history. Now, we weren't called Canadians then. We were just British colonialists when we did that. But
Right.
my point being is that we won the War of 1812. And then we just stuck around. And then we sliced up and took up pretty much as much square footage as you guys did in the States. Just to sit here and not actually populate it. We're just hanging on to it. That's what we're doing here.
Wow.
Can you say outpost?
Yeah.
I rest my case. But that being said,
So does that mean that that the what they're talking about in this stated plan is actually coming to fruition in your world and in my world because of the police state scenarios and the militarization of the police and the global aspect of police as well? Because like from my perspective, it seems like throughout the last couple of years in Sacramento, police have been growing like extremely, and I noticed like you don't. I mean, before like maybe in 2015, you would see a cop on the street if you went out and went to a place that was more like high rich value. You know, like a lot of people go to it. They would be there. Now they seem to be in areas where that doesn't even matter. They're just like seem to just randomly be in stationary areas, just sitting there.
wow.
And I almost see one every day. If I go out, I don't go out every day.
Well, going back to 2015, I was living in BC then. And then I moved up into the mountains. So I didn't have a lot of contact with police. And then 2016, I moved to Mexico. So I didn't have any contact with Canadian police.
Mexican police?
Oh, the Mexican police are fucking, they're awesome. I'm not bullshitting either.
Well,
Really?
you know, obviously they propagandize that situation with horror movies because the horror movies I've seen kind of depict the police in Mexico as kind of thieves, if you will. But with power. I guess thieves with power.
Well, police in Mexico is pretty militarized as well.
There's basically okay. We're getting way off topic right now,
You're right. We should go back.
but yeah, there's basically two brands of police in Mexico. There's two brands of police, one of which are underwritten by the mafia, and the others who are not, and that's it.
Okay.
Now,
I think that makes sense over here too.
both of them, well, not so much in North America.
Well, we also have the Masons connected to the police as well over here.
I guess you could call it a mafia by a different name, I suppose.
Yeah, I consider that kind of a mafia.
All right. Okay, I accept that rationalization. But I think it's more direct in terms of the Mexico analogy. You literally have people that will cut your head off or not.
Okay.
You literally have people that will accept a bribe or not.
So it just depends on who you get.
And that's it. And if they accept the bribe, they may or may not cut your head off. So I mean, like, it's very, very, it's very polarized over there.
Well, I can see why they'd use that for horror. I can see why they'd use that style for horror.
For horror.
Yeah, because I'm talking about like how they depict it in horror films.
Oh, all right.
I've never been to Mexico, so I wouldn't know. You see.
Yeah, no, Mexico's a funny place, and wow, not a lot of people have gone there. And sorry, my phone just went off. But yeah, not a lot of people that are listening might have been there. But point is that police work differently in different places depending on what they are told to do and what jurisdiction they have in order to do it. So in the case of Canada in here, yeah, you pull people over and you could do this and that, much the same as it works in the United States. You have kind of a more of a, I guess you could say, a gun mentality in the United States, typically speaking. I don't mean that, 100%, but I'm just saying that you have more of a gun mentality where, again, you get pulled over, you might have a gun drawn on you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in Canada, that won't happen.
Gotcha.
That also won't happen in Mexico.
Well, here, depending on what you do, you may get shot. So.
Well, no, if you're,
by police.
If you're being a dickhead and doing dickhead shit, a cop will fucking pull you over and pull a gun on you.
Right.
But
and if you're doing dickhead shit, you may get shot. That's how it goes down.
Well, if you're doing dickhead shit, you probably should get shot.
Right.
I'm just saying. I want to, if I have to be the devil's advocate on this, I mean, if you're doing dickhead shit,
with cops, I've generally just like acted like they were superior and like they were the sirs, and like there's like a script they follow. If you follow the same script, then you're done. You get out of it, as long as you follow the script. But if you go off the script, then there's something wrong with you, and you got to be looked at deeper.
Well, that's just it. That's the question: is what is the script? And
it's what they say,
and who is teaching them? I think we just finally nailed it. I mean, who is writing the script? That's the question.
That is the question. That's a good question.
Bug, what do you say?
Yeah. As far as dealing with police.
Yeah, but about the script, who's writing it, who's obeying it, that business.
I don't really have much experience in dealing with police. I only have one speeding ticket, and that was my only interaction with police my whole life. Yeah.
Lucky you.
Have either of you gone into security?
No, I have no background in security. No.
I ended up doing security because I was like doing it for the cannabis place, like dispensary, and I ended up taking a course, and so I was there with cops basically because they have to take a course every once in a while. Apparently, I didn't even know this, but yeah, they got to take a course every once in a while to re-up their process or whatever. And it's kind of like college; they just kind of up each thing, and they go higher up and stuff. But they have to keep going to these different courses or whatever, and you have to do that as well if you're a security guard, and you go to the same course apparently in certain time frames. So anyway, I learned that they actually follow a script, a literal script.
Really?
What, like tech support?
It's like theater. They learn it as a memorization, and as if they literally like they're a character, and they're doing, and they actually role play. We did this whole role play thing about in court, as if we were in court, and we had to do like a whole like they gave us like who the person was, what happened and everything, and we were supposed to be a security guard and how a security guard is supposed to do it, and then there's certain people that were acting out that role. It was weird. It was all in a class setting.
Hey, is that your job? Is that your job, security?
Not anymore. I still am technically a security guard. I have a card and all that, but I don't actually do security right now.
Right. Okay. All right. Cool.
I can, if you know.
It's just funny because you speak in similar terms as when I was like, I'm ex-military myself. I did, you know, my bit for my country, which was basically nothing. But yeah, I was a part-time soldier.
Right. Right. We've talked about that, and that's how I knew that about the ARPA stuff, and that you knew.
Well, I had insider insight to the politics of the military when shit was going on in Cyprus and other places like Cambodia, Africa, and other shit during the early 90s. But I that's neither here nor there. No, I'm curious to know though. So you're aware of certain policies and how to act.
Oh, I have to be a certain way, otherwise, like, I can be fucked.
Right.
Like, for instance, if I got a misdemeanor, it gets trumped up.
Right. And you could be even more fucked if you act in the process of
I don't even think I
taking
get
care of a if you take care of a situation, you could be even more fucked, right?
Yeah, you're not supposed to. I'm not supposed to touch a person. I'm supposed to do everything from afar.
You're not supposed to put yourself in the line of fire.
Yeah, well, if you are upholding a person, you don't go up to the person. You have the person turn around and walk backwards to you. And you do it in a commanding voice with your hand out.
As you walk backwards.
I know the guy walks back, or the girl, or whoever the person
you're hoping they walk backwards.
Yeah, exactly.
What if they walk towards you?
Get deeper than that, they're not listening or whatever. Then you call the cops. Then you have a cop do the rest. It's like basically a security guard is supposed to.
All right. What if they walk to you? What if they walk really fast before you could make a call?
Yeah, and what's weird? I learned this when I went into this course as well. When you hear about these reports of people found dead or at locations and stuff like that, those reports are written by security guards. They're not written by police. Is what happens is the police take the report of that the security guard wrote. Yeah, and the security guard is actually the person that finds the body and make sure no one goes around the body and nothing gets touched and things like that until the police get there. Isn't that crazy? I thought it was always another type of police was doing that until I would end up becoming a security guard.
That's all about basically giving somebody else, as passing the buck, basically. It's giving somebody else the responsibility. Yeah,
the cop is not like they're doing this other process. So this is the process that you're supposed to do, and they're doing that process. It's like when they go into court or whatever, they're using the security guards' take on what they. Yeah. The security guard is the one that goes and interviews the people before the cops get there.
It's similar to the chain of evidence.
And then the security guard gives the information to the cops that was said to the people, and you're supposed to take everything at face value. You can't put any emotion into it. And you can't put any thought into it either. You're not supposed to deduce anything or whatever in your report.
Well, this brings us right to shifting populations and economies, tearing the social roots.
Is this going to talk about the globalization of industry?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's the money maker right there, baby.
This is where we talk about people losing their jobs as a result of industry and opportunities for retraining. And particularly population shifts will be brought about.
Which takes us into Agenda 2030 and the whole idea behind the zoning or
And
whatever.
migration.
And the, what do you call it? The animal zone, what do you call that? Preserves? Animal preserves or something? Like wildlife preserve. That's it. Wildlife preserves. Everywhere else is going to be wildlife preserves, supposedly, right? And we're going to have our residential zones.
I've already seen on the TV. I don't watch much mainstream
I kind of
TV.
feel like I live in a residential zone right
now. I just saw a commercial in the last 24 hours where they got a bunch of young kids, circa 17 to 19 years old, stating that we are training for new jobs because the old jobs are on their way out. And then the narrator goes and says, "You think robots are going to take over your jobs? Well, that just means that there's more jobs out there for more talented people." Like, fuck off.
We're gonna run robots. That's what they're trying to say.
It's ridiculous.
We're gonna keep the robots doing stuff. What?
Oh, no. We're gonna have to make our humans smarter, apparently. But I don't.
Yeah, right. That's a hard sell.
I don't think that's happening when our education system is as fooked as it is.
It's like you were saying before, when we originally were doing this, that the this parts of this like counterweigh other parts of it. It's like a dichotomy.
Absolutely, I agree with that. What do you think there, Bug?
Yeah, I also agree. Yeah.
Why do you think that's that way? Is that like to confuse the listeners?
I think it's to convince the fucking dummies that it's going to get sorted.
Oh.
But that's my personal opinion. I mean, hey. I'm a dummy too.
So coming from a dummy.
Yeah. But I mean, shit. I mean, they told us they're going to sort it out, right? Or the kids are. The kids are going to sort it.
They were talking about our parents, basically. We're like the generation that they don't talk about, that they kind of like allude to. Yeah.
Well, the kids in the commercial were like the kids that we don't talk about, and they're going to sort it, apparently.
Yeah, well, that's our kids.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of faith
or whatever.
I don't have a whole lot of faith in that, so
Nope.
I digress.
I don't know. The children these days, they're growing up with the phones in their hands and tablets and whatnot, playing video games all the time. They're losing like humanity.
Well, Gen and these millennials,
in my opinion,
I don't even know if there's any.
They are smart, but they're smart on a like a
in a virtual reality.
Absolutely, I agree, 100%. But they're not. I mean, if you put them out in the woods,
they wouldn't know how to survive. Yeah, they'd be like those
They probably die on day one. They would know how to make a fire. They couldn't make a shelter.
That story with the kids that crashed on the island. And they ate the kid, Piggy.
Lord of the Flies.
Thank you, Lord of the Flies. I couldn't remember the name. Yeah, that that sounds like that kind of scenario. If you actually put these kids,
why do you know what's funny? Why do you think?
The thing is, last night Battle Royale. That's very similar to the style of like what happened in that Lord of the Flies, except these people didn't band together at first. They just all of a sudden like.
Here's the problem: is that was written as fiction back in the day. Now, it is probably more aligned to fact.
You're right. It's like a feasibility of.
It's more feasible now. Like that was a dire circumstance where you had a bunch of kids in remote scenario.
They did it again
if you shut off the internet and the hydro power supply tomorrow, you would have a Lord of the Flies scenario in every single major fucking town and city inside of 24 hours.
Oh yeah.
And they did it, like I said, they did it again in that show 100, the 100. That was very much Lord of the Flies from a spaceship type of thing. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I didn't watch it.
Yeah, so. It's one of those Dawson's Creek type of things, but it
I didn't watch Dawson's Creek either.
No, of course not. But that's just like a reference to the style, I like watch a lot of sci-fi. Sometimes it's crappy, some sci-fi, but I still watch it.
I watch mostly sci-fi.
I like to check out different storylines, and sometimes they get them, even though they're not like, the screenplay is really bad and stuff. Sometimes the story is really interesting and deep, but the actors are horrible and the lines are bad and the screenplay is horrible. But like
Z Nation.
Cool story. What?
Z Nation.
Okay, I haven't watched that yet. Maybe I should, based on
perfect example of a horrible cast, horrible acting, horrible dialogue.
That's why I haven't watched it. It just didn't look like something I'd want to watch.
Yeah, there's 4 seasons of yeah.
I know. I was like, how is this possible? Because I see the preview and I'm just like, okay, that looks pretty cheesy.
Oh, it is cheesy. It's cheesy as hell. But
does it know it's cheesy? Maybe that's why.
You know what? I think it does know that it's cheesy, and it just continues on.
Well, that's okay. Cheese for cheese is okay. I don't like cheese for no cheese.
Oh no, it knows it's cheese. It knows it's cheese. It knows it's so bad that it goes.
Horror. I mean,
it shits out. It shits out worse dialogue every season. It gets worse and worse. It doesn't get better. Anyway,
sidebar.
we're diagnosing shows now.
I know.
Yeah.
It's funny where this thing takes us.
Yeah. But okay, so fuck. We segued through crime managing society. It was about to support your local police. Don't let them be consolidated, blah, blah, blah. And then the American industry
will be shipped overseas. All the heavy industry will be shipped overseas with just a little bit left to be used as a sort of a fallback plan in case something doesn't go according to plan.
Yeah, and guess what? Guess what happened? We had the free trade agreement between Canada and the United States. We've also had other trade agreements with Mexico. Exactly. And you know what? These things all came into fruition after 1969.
Oh, yeah. It came, NAFTA passed in the early 90s, if I remember correctly.
Yep. Absolutely. I mean, this shit should be ringing in people's ears. I mean, hopefully, whoever the hell, any one of our 10 listeners that are listening right now, if they've read this or listened to the actual tapes, I mean, should be almost shaking in their boots, really.
They should talk to people that were been around at that time and ask if there's like, because I have some here that I told him about this, and he was like, "Yeah, we were talking about that in college." And I was like, "Whoa, that blows my mind."
He also talks about how import goods, particularly goods from Japan, will be of higher quality than United States made goods, so as to suppress patriotic sentiments among the population. So since all of our cars and utilities and whatever dishwashers, fridges are of subpar quality compared to Japanese or European goods, what are we really worth? It's kind of interesting how sophisticated their plans are. You wouldn't. Hey Rob, are you still here?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah.
I'm listening to you. And the fast forward going on, he goes about heavy industry, and this is where we talk about environmental damage.
Oh yeah, I remember it.
From smokestacks and industrial waste,
and their plan is to ship it all to China.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, most of it.
But I mean, it gets crazy. I mean, here's another big one: sports as a tool of social change.
Yeah, this is something that as a listener of Jeff's channel and a long time follower of his work, I'm very familiar with social engineering in sports.
Yes,
how it's used to push the New World Order agendas. But here it's very interesting. This is not something that we've discussed on Jeff's channels. At least I don't remember it. How they selected soccer as a means of uniting the whole world in this global structure, bringing people together, people from across the world,
right?
And this is all centered around soccer. And I had these kinds of suspicions before, but I haven't thought much about it.
But it's very specific, eh?
Yeah, very specifically soccer. And this was, and now looking back, I see that soccer has been gradually introduced into American society as well over the past 25 years, or beginning with like mid 90s, I would say. You had the whole MLS that got started, and now it's grown quite a bit in the United States, and their plan is to gradually, at least as far as the United States goes, their plan is to gradually phase out the traditional sports in America, such as baseball, and replace them with mostly soccer.
Yeah.
Well, pretty much all sports are run by the Freemasons.
But they also delineate the other sports, and they gravitate sports like soccer to another playing field, which is multinational. It goes beyond leagues, and I don't know if people understand the programming that's involved here. This is where we should have Jeff here, because he would just go off on a fucking tangent. But
1984.
He would go off. I'm serious, because like the kind of programming involved in sports. I mean, you have compartmentalized programming, like in Canada. You got like the OHL. You've got the
Oh yeah. It's all divide and conquer to some, people who are.
Well, it goes back to the bread and circus of the Rome.
Yeah.
Right.
We have modern. It's funny, here in Vancouver we have a place called. It's right by the Second Narrows Bridge, and there's the Coliseum, and right next to it is the Hippodrome, which is just like in Rome.
That's like that's like Mad Max, the Thunderdome. Remember that?
Yeah.
But in that show we watched too, the Altered Carbon, there was something drone. Remember?
Oh yeah. They had the fight drone.
Fight drone. That's right.
Something, yeah. But I mean, the concept though isn't new. this is something that's already been done in mainstream TV and games. Look at Gladiators. Look at these other shows where that kind of thing has already been kind of conceptualized and it looks safe.
Oh yeah, this whole
It's
area,
also
like,
It's safe
yeah,
but
you're right.
dangerous at the
That's
same
like
time.
all over.
yeah, it's a simulated combat is what it is.
It's
It's
simulated
Like,
combat.
reversal of the roles, and like way early.
yeah, it uses as is used as a relief valve for all the testosterone in males, and so is to keep them docile.
Right,
Is
but
what
the
my theory is.
and or H or eight or whatever, and the estrogen, these things reverse us in a I mean, not psychological. What do you call it? Metaphysical way. Not metaphysical, like physical, but on a microscopic level. Like, what am I trying to say? Microscopic.
As I go through the document here, it's funny because it goes right from sports right to gun control.
Well, yeah, shooting sports is what I think he was talking about. But we know whether it's way more than that. It's not just shooting sports.
Here it says, at that time, hockey was international between the United States and Canada. And this is Lawrence Dunegan saying, I was kind of surprised because I thought the speaker just never impressed me as being a hockey fan. And I am. And it turns out he was not. He just knew about the game and what it would do to this changing sports program. But in any event, soccer was to be the keystone of athletics because it is already a worldwide sport in South America, Europe, and parts of Asia, and the United States should get on the bandwagon. All this would foster international competition so that we would all become citizens of the world to a greater extent than citizens of our own and narrow nations.
But isn't that the Olympics?
Hang on. There was some discussion about hunting. Not surprisingly, hunting requires guns, and gun control is a big element in these plans.
Boom.
I don't remember the details much, but the idea is that gun ownership is a privilege and not everybody should have guns. Hunting was an inadequate excuse for owning guns, and everybody should be restricted in gun ownership.
Hello, NRA.
Yo.
Yeah, NRA always use the hunting argument. Hunting and sport shooting, well, it's easily countered. You don't need an assault rifle or a battle rifle in order to hunt. So we should ban those. And that's how the dialectic works.
When I saw that dialectic, it hit me like a fucking gold brick in the forehead. It was like they want to manage guns. I'll summarize it this way: the best T-shirt I ever seen in regards to hunting was, "I need a 30 mag clip, one bullet for the deer, the other 29 to protect the deer from you." Just basically, yeah. In summary.
But don't argue Second Amendment from the standpoint of hunting or sport shooting.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I think I think what I was trying to get at was the protection aspect of it. It's like, yeah, I could use one bullet out of a 30 round clip to take down a deer, but I need the other 29 rounds to protect that deer from you motherfuckers trying to steal it from me. It's about self-preservation.
I understand. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, the whole concept got distorted. The Second Amendment in America is completely distorted.
Now it's not politically correct to even talk that this is all about this is all about having the last check and balance on government run amok. this is your final fallback plan for dealing with tyranny. This has nothing to do with hunting or shooting cardboard targets at a range.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's gotten to a point. Well, again, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier about the Constitution being overwritten by statutes. And perception, believe me, perception is also a big part of it, because like if a cop pulls you over and he asks you, are you the owner operator of this motor vehicle? You're going to say yes, because you were programmed to. You were placed into that mindset.
Or intimidated.
Yeah, right? Or intimidated. Absolutely. Yes. And
why do you think they're all wearing black uniforms and
it's
black caps?
Yeah. It's programming. And, you know, you're programmed to think that, oh, some school got shot up. Let's take away. I'm all for giving teachers guns, man. I'm like, fuck, give these teachers as many guns as they can fucking carry and train them well and make sure they're not nuts. But like you can't have like cops sitting outside with their thumbs up their asses while you got somebody on the inside of the building potentially murdering people. You know what I mean? Even if that is what happened and what that took place, one easy solution is to put guns in the fucking hands of the teachers.
Yeah, well, the truth is that some teachers already carry guns illegally, just without letting anybody know. But that's, you know, that's
like, are they gonna random? Are they gonna like hold them like, you know, on their leg like the whole time, or are they gonna be?
No, well, like appendix carry or.
Yeah, but the thing is,
carry, obviously,
we're not going to hear about it though, because it didn't happen at these false flag events.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like all we're hearing about now is 3 cops, like 1 deputized sheriff, standing outside.
Just
fucking school in Florida, just fucking and then 2 others that took fucking hiding. They're hiding outside when somebody's inside. Do you have any idea how fucking ridiculous that sounds?
They must not have been trained.
Like, it's fucking mind-boggling.
It just shows how ridiculous it is, and
it's absolutely fucking.
It shoots itself in the foot, but it's like nobody looks that deeply unless they're like us.
Yeah. Wow. And also now look at the gun grab legislation that's been pushed through in Florida, as well as a bunch of other fucking bullshit. I mean, like, this is what we're facing.
Who benefits? It's all about who benefits.
It happened here in Canada in Moncton just 2 years ago. We had our Moncton shooting. We had a shooting in Ottawa as well. We've got our false flags here in Canada.
I'm like still a couple of months behind. I'm with my documentation, so I'm trying to catch up with like adding all these to my list of shit.
2014 was when we had the Ottawa shooting.
Yeah, I have that.
That was a Parliament shooting. Yeah.
On my timeline.
That was Z-half, Bebop, Z-half, Bebop.
Yeah, half of Z-half, whatever.
Whatever the fuck his name was.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Bebop. Anyway.
The riddles, right? They seem like riddles.
What?
The riddles. These like little these names and stuff.
Oh, well, that's what they do this. They do this all the time with the names. And then they never show any bodies. They don't show any autopsy reports. I mean, this guy apparently goes killed.
Unless it's a body with no arms and it's gray and, you know.
And then you don't hear anything of it after the fact. just a made-up name. And actually, in the case of the Parliament shooting, the funniest bit was a retired was he RCMP? I think it was RCMP, a retired RCMP guy who had never fired off his gun. He has never shot a person in his life. Did a Terminator move, like he jumped around a corner like Max Payne, jumps around a corner like Max Payne and fires about 9 rounds into this guy's chest.
Right. I mean, it's ridiculous. It sounds
like he's never shot a man in his life.
Kind of movement thing. Like you're just like, okay.
Oh, it's like the climax. It's like the climax of a movie.
Yeah, exactly. And then he goes all the way over to England and gets knighted.
Oh, he gets knighted in the whole bit, and then
totally Masonic.
But here's the funny bit: is that not all of the rounds made it into his target. Some of them ended up in the wall, and guess what? Jeff C. and a few others did a little bit of research and found out that those holes were already in the wall a year before by Google Maps.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. Guess what? Yeah, somebody removed a fucking shelf and there was already holes in the wall. So some of the bullet holes that I think it was STSH Channel 11 and a couple and the CBC, they were trying to maintain that the bullet holes were in the wall, but they were actually just shelf holes from screws that came out.
Wow.
Yeah, there's even a picture on the internet where John Kerry is examining those holes. He's showing, this is where the shooting took place. And
it just goes to show how the media spins what you're seeing. Like if you're seeing something and they're saying something else, it's like if you pause, or I mean not pause, if you turn the sound off and watch the visuals, they don't make sense to what the hell the person's saying.
Yeah.
If you watch the visuals without the sound, or if you watch the sound, listen to the sound without the visuals, you get a different story.
Oh, welcome to Canada.
Yeah.
It's
especially when they show it over and over again, because all you're seeing is the same thing over and over again. You're wondering, why am I seeing that over and over again?
Oh, just like 9/11.
Yeah, instead of actually listening to what's happening, or whatever. And if you listen to what's happening, you stop watching actually what they're showing you over and over again. You're like, oh wow, that's a whole different. You start seeing it in your mind instead.
A better example is the Columbia disaster, because they showed that footage. Cool. They showed that footage for days and days and days, and I swear to God, that carnage never hit the ground. It took 7 days for that shit to hit the ground. The way they showed it on the goddamn TV, it blew my mind.
I saw that while I was at school. They were showing
I don't mean to laugh. I don't mean to laugh. It's a horrible event. But it took forever for it to carry itself out, and they showed it over and over. It never landed. They just showed that same footage. Oh crap. Anyway, I digress. I apologize.
Sex and violence inculcated through entertainment.
Well, this is where we're going here with this. And this is actually another big thing, is that movies would gradually be made more explicit as regards sex and language. After all.
And graphic violence.
Yeah.
I remember in '69, it wasn't as crazy as it is now.
There would be pornographic movies in the theaters and on television.
And he also states that there will be a more realistic and more graphic violence in entertainment in general, which is meant to desensitize people to real acts of violence, which will take place increasingly throughout the next few decades.
Yeah. And look at like
And
shows
I
like
think
the
it's false flags because those
look at
things happen
Game
all
of
the time.
Thrones. Look at Game of Thrones or
Oh.
The Walking Dead.
I don't even
Well,
watch those shows.
what
Man.
about these police shows that depict actual scenarios that have occurred or will occur before they occur? They're like they like show like a police. I mean, not a police. Like a school shooting or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
No, it's
Yeah.
all just mind control. Yeah.
Well, that you know what though, that would be shows like 24.
Right.
You know, like you got Kiefer Sutherland is like, I gotta get to CTU. I gotta save the president. You know.
Now he is president in another.
Now he is president. Yeah, he's on that other show. That's funny.
Whereas he plays a person that basically wasn't necessarily planning to be president because all of the cabinet gets killed like all at once. They like destroy the White House basically.
Yeah,
And all the cabinets in the White House.
Delegated or what the hell's the name of the show?
They call it like indecent something survivor. I can't remember the first name on it. But yeah, it's another propaganda thing, but it showed stuff before it happened, which was trippy. Like when because I didn't watch it, but like my partner did, and I would like catch it every once in a while, and I would reference what actually was happening in the world, you know, and I was like, wow, this is tripping me out. So I don't know. It's just more
that's a designated survivor.
Watch that shit.
Designated survivor.
You're right. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's kind of funny because I like TV shows. I do like certain dramas, and a guilty pleasure of mine was 24, even though it's absolutely horrible. It's deprivative. It's all of those fucking horrible, fucking shitty things.
It's like torture porn. A lot of torture porn in that because he ended up torturing a lot of people.
Yeah, but I did it for 8 seasons, right? It was kind of one of those things I committed myself to watching.
I did too, man. Like
horrible entertainment. And I like Kiefer Sutherland. I'm a fan. He's Canadian. I'm Canadian. I like the guy. I can't help it. Okay, he's good. He's not a bad actor either. He's not great, but he's not a fucking bad actor. However, I just find it really funny that he's in Designated Survivor.
Yeah.
You know, I watched the first season of that show, and I hoped, I was like, oh, is he going to pick up a gun and try and save the president? Wait, he is the president. Fuck. All right, that's not going to work out. All right. Yeah. I got to get to CTU. Wait. Oh, wait. I am the president. Shit, I got to save myself. I mean, it just doesn't work.
No.
You know. Anyway, crap, we're way off target here now.
Well, you're talking about like shows and stuff that are violent, and
well,
that's a good representation because it's violent, but it doesn't. It's not in the like
it's
viewers of violence. It's not like you're going into it thinking it's a horror movie kind of thing.
It's accepted though. It's acceptable, and I guess that's where we were segueing with this, is that it becomes acceptable violence. Look, here I'm highlighting a bit here.
CSI showing dead bodies all the time.
This is the part that that Bug just basically narrated. Violence would be made more graphic, and this was intended to desensitize people to violence. There might need to be a time when people would witness real violence and be a part of it. And you know what? Actually, that there, if you think about what we see right now with like The Walking Dead, which is a little bit more, that's a little bit more in your face, but that's almost, you know,
it's human against human, but it does on the guise of, oh, we're going to go against the zombies.
Wait a minute. let's hinge on the second sentence where it says there might need to be a time when people would witness real violence and be a part of it. So if you imagine people watching shows like The Walking Dead, where they are forced into a state of survival and fighting each other and killing each other, they are being desensitized to that MO. And guess what? They wouldn't freak out so bad when they see it happen in real life next door. You follow?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
it's like watching Faces of Death. Once you see that and you actually like get through it or whatever, it desensitizes you on a level that you could watch other stuff and it won't affect you. Like as if someone else was watching it who never saw Faces of Death would totally be affected and would probably go throw up based on what they saw in that sense, because they can't get around the desensitization the same way unless they do it through a process. Like I'm a horror watcher. I watch a lot of horror, so it was easy for me to get into.
Yeah, but it's one thing. It's
when I was
one
younger. When I did
FP, it's one thing to wrap your head around the visuals, but if you wrap your head around the actual social ramifications of it, like in like I said, I'm using the show The Walking Dead as a narrative here because
it is good. It is good.
But I mean, forget about the actual visuals. Imagine what it's like to let go of XYZ and then have to go in and commit murders yourself in order to survive.
Right. That's a whole different, like, because that becomes like fight or flight type of scenario.
Absolutely. But the thing is that you have already socially accepted it yourself because of the indoctrination of
Walking Dead, like watching
The Walking Dead, or the material you're watching. I mean, but the thing is, though,
before The Walking Dead came out, I already figured there was going to be some sort of zombie outbreak at some point, and
it's not a far stretch, though, that people will already be in this mentality.
Yeah, and I'm just exactly, and there's a whole comic kind of following, like a comic book world following of this kind of orientation of the zombie world. Whereas they kind of in the back of their mind know what to do if a zombie outbreak really happens. But in reality, they're just playing this role of like, oh, I'm just kind of cosplaying the zombies that
All right. Okay, let's be fair. In reality, 98% of everybody would be absolutely fucked.
Well, yeah, because obviously it would spread.
Nobody knows how to. Everyone's in the city. Nobody really knows how to live. They don't. As soon as the fucking hydro shut down, the water stopped pumping, they would all be fucked. They'd kill each other inside of the first fucking 4 days, and it'd be all fucking over. Nobody knows how to actually fucking live. And do you think anyone's actually prepped? Oh my god, I didn't charge my phone.
Just those people that call themselves preppers, I'm sure they're prepping. But
but guess what? They don't live in the city.
They also don't live in reality. They live in a whole different time frame.
Preppers?
Yeah.
No, preppers are probably more prepped than non-preppers. I guarantee you.
No, I agree with you there. I'm saying, but they live in their reality. It's like it already happened, and they're just constantly timing things out. And
whoa, wait a minute. In some of their realities,
yes.
That's a very wide general brushstroke that you're doing there. I think ideally, an actual prepper will probably not announce that he's a prepper. Will probably be prepped.
Be a gray man.
Right. And will most likely be prepared for when something actually happens. The YouTube prepper is a YouTuber. Might be prepped.
Might not.
Maybe not.
I agree. Or even those ones that you've seen on like documentaries, where they'd show different types of preppers. I think it was called Doomsday Preppers.
Yeah, well, those guys probably should have moved the second that the documentary was actually released.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, well, it's not like they said where they were, but you could probably figure it out if you were smart enough.
I think the smart ones are going to remain the smart ones. The not so smart ones are going to die, and that's that simple in that scenario.
But it also depends on whatever type of outbreak scenario occurs and how it spreads and things like that.
Oh, you're talking about an outbreak, like as in a zombie apocalypse?
Oh yeah, or
Okay.
maybe the other kind, like
or what about an EMP? Or what about an earthquake? Or what about a tornado? In any scenario where the infrastructure breaks down, you're going to have a major loss of life. You're going to have a loss of infrastructure, and then you're going to have people that are going to try and curtail the system in order to loot and take from whatever is left over. That is at the core of survival. That is what is going to happen. It doesn't matter what the fucking scenario is. There are going to be people that survive, and there are going to be people that die. End of.
And the most important personal quality for a survivalist type of person is inventiveness, or being able to find solutions to problems on the spot.
Absolutely.
Not necessarily having all the possible items that you might think of available to him in his bunker, but being able to actually manufacture things and create things on the spot with whatever is available. And the same goes for being faced with certain situations, being creative in resolving conflicts. It's not all about the equipment.
That's exactly it. And guess what? And those skills translate into currency down the road, because that's where you will end up networking with other groups that are also surviving in order to exchange things. And skills are very, very, very exchangeable. I can make wire. Oh, that's great. You can make wire. I can make bread. It's like, fuck, I'm hungry. I need to connect my solar array. Awesome. Let's do business. I mean, that's an extravagant example, but you understand where I'm going with this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But I mean,
yeah, like I said, the ability of having the ability of resolving conflicts is much more preferable than shooting people in the face.
Absolutely. And it's funny that the reason we're having this conversation is because we can actually go back to the reference of shows like The Walking Dead, where they violently kill each other.
They play it out.
Yeah, and this part could be the part of the conditioning that they're trying to inflict on us.
It wants to make us comfortable with the idea of killing each other, because that's what they, you know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
It's kind of frustrating.
In the back of my mind, I agree with you there.
Yeah, completely with your original idea. I mean, let's go on.
Oh, the implanted IDs. Oh, Lord, no.
Food control.
I think you skipped something. Implanted IDs.
Implanted IDs, yeah.
Travel restrictions and implanted IDs.
Well, we're not technically there yet, but we do. It says that the card element, which we are in, of putting an ID on our card or having some sort of chip in our card.
Yeah, first ID cards and then later microchips.
Yeah, that you put inside your body.
There was a bit here that was clustered into one of the other bits there that we
Which gets
started
into
off with.
transhumanism
Yeah.
and Mark of the Beast.
No, earlier on we were on about the travel restrictions. I think there was
Yeah, remember it was just a little blurb, and then it went into that other thing.
yeah, with the alcohol and the drugs.
So this must be adding to the travel thing that we were talking about before.
But here's the bit. If you guys remember, in it was I think it was 1997, 98. That's when they introduced the well, for Canadian and American travelers anyway, they introduced the smart driver's license, or the extended driver's license, that allowed you to basically traverse back and forth. But my point is that actually no, it was after 9/11. So this was actually 2002, 2003. Yeah, they introduced this new system, or basically it was a wireless chip system. Your driver's license would be picked up, and if you were a traveler that went back and forth all the time, you'd be able to go back and forth a lot easier. So they said. Now that was the idea. That was the design.
No. Well, I don't know. That's not how it works.
It's 70. Okay, my driver's license cost me, I don't know, about $70.
Jesus, ours only cost 12.
For another $70, I could get the specialized one. I had a chip that would get through the border.
That would track you.
For it. That's funny.
So
we take the test, and if we pass the test, we get our license.
I mean, I could get across.
No, they they fleece every opportunity here in Canada, and there's no escape from it. Everywhere you go, you get fleeced.
Oh yeah. Yeah. If you live in Canada, you're getting Totally
you have to pay for shit all the time.
Oh, for anything.
For anything. Gotcha.
Especially anything, gas, cream cheese, whatever.
I was specifically talking of all the
whatever we want to get, essentially, but we don't have to. Gas we have to pay for. Like, I mean, anytime I run out of gas, I need to go get more gas. I pay for it.
Well, the further you are away from Alberta, the more your gas is going to cost you in Canada.
Oh, it costs more. Gotcha. Yeah, that also depends on like how high you up are in California or low or whatever. If you're going towards Nevada, these areas will vary on gas prices.
We also have this wonderful carbon tax here in British Columbia, which is for last time I checked, it was like 14.5 cents per liter.
Oh, crikey! Yeah, you're right.
That's why it's more expensive than Alberta.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, carbon tax.
It's by gallons, so like just
which is complete bullshit.
Yeah, it's complete bullshit. It's freaking indulgence, like Cube was saying, Black Cube Mystery. I was saying it's comparable to the Catholic Church indulgences.
It's like being fucking charged fucking dark matter tax. It's like
exactly.
Flying apart.
Don't give them any ideas.
Oh, and for people that have electric cars, they get charged for their electricity.
Yeah.
When they go and they plug in at the gas stations that have electric car places. Yeah,
dark matter tax. You're right about that.
It's crazy. I don't think anything's free ever. You can't even go to the bathroom anywhere here in like Sacramento. It's like San Francisco. I mean, unless you eat somewhere or something, or you spend something, then you can go to the bathroom because they say for customers only everywhere. So as long as you're in there eating or something, then you can use their bathroom. Sometimes there's like a lock on the door. I went to the Chipotle today, and there was a freaking padlock thing. I mean, like I had to type in a number to go to the bathroom.
Really?
Yeah, at Chipotle. It's crazy, man.
Well, yeah, maybe we should move on to the next subject, which is food control and control over the food supply and control over growth of own food, which is being implemented as we speak.
Yeah, that's happening. I mean,
Yeah.
look at
It's food control and weather control.
Yeah, weather control is
Walmart's
the
the
next
worst.
one. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have Walmarts, but Walmart over here is the worst because they get you coming and going like with their cameras and their scanners, like right in the when you go in.
I don't shop in Walmart. Screw them.
Oh, good for you. That you know, like a lot of us people over here, we kind of like because of the pricing or whatever, we're stupid.
Actually, I find it interesting that some of the organic stores here in the area are either have prices at par or even sometimes below large box stores.
If you're dealing with local grocers, yeah, I found that in BC myself.
Yeah.
If you're lucky enough to get some of the local organic shops, they actually do locally grown stuff. And
and it's sometimes cheaper.
Kelowna is brilliant for that. And where I live here, I'm in Kitchener-Waterloo. We are surrounded by a humongous Mennonite community. So I'm actually surrounded by a lot of really good organic produce. So I'm very lucky where I am here.
That's cool.
Nice.
But if I were in Toronto or in Hamilton, fuck that. I'd be totally screwed. I'd be eating freaking
Mexican growing.
I'd be eating freaking piss pucks, you know. But anyway. But yeah, going on actually. Our earlier rant, or my earlier rant, regarding how fucked someone would be during a zombie apocalypse was about the food control situation. And this is the food supplies. It says, okay, remember, this is 1969.
Yeah.
Food supplies would come under tight control.
Centralized control, like in the Soviet Union, basically.
Yeah. If population growth didn't slow down, food shortages could be created in a hurry, and people would realize the dangers of overpopulation. See, overpopulation is a mindset based on...
It's a myth.
Yeah, exactly. I agree on that.
They tell you right there that's a myth.
It's a total myth. It's a perception.
I mean, to say that they were worried about it back then and they're worried about it now, it's like that shows how of a mythology it is. Because it would have grown... or gotten worse.
It's a mythology based on a perception that was created by a controlling factor.
Right.
Yeah. The only reason why they worry about it is because the fewer people there are, the easier the whole system is to control and game.
That's it.
Yeah.
So it goes on to say, ultimately, whether the population slows down or not, the food supply is to be brought under centralized control so that people would have enough to be well nourished, but they would not have enough to support any fugitive from the new system. Where the hell does that come from? In other words, if you had a friend or relative who didn't sign on, and growing one's own food would be outlawed, which has happened all throughout the United States, especially in California. Yeah, this would be done under some sort of pretext.
There's always a pretext, yeah.
Yeah, which means they set it up on purpose for it to happen.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it doesn't.
So they can use it again.
You can't make this shit up. I mean, it's happening.
That's why I say that this is like a foreshadowing or like not predictive program, like a prophecy. Although it's real, it's like
it's
not
more prophetic. Yeah, I agree. Let's read this. Okay, after the pretext bit, it says, in the beginning, I mentioned there were two purposes for everything. One, the ostensible purpose, and the real purpose.
That's going on now too.
And the ostensible purpose here would be that growing your own vegetables was unsafe. it would spread disease or something like that.
That
Bullshit.
reminds me of Idiocracy.
Yeah,
So-
Brondo.
So the acceptable idea was to protect the consumer, but the real idea was to limit the food supply, and growing your own food would be illegal.
But that's how they always introduce
And
these
that's how it is now.
totalitarian control
Farmers
measures.
they have to get it from the government. They can't go and get their own seeds.
And it finishes off to say, and if you persist
Well,
in
here in
illegal activities like growing your own
California,
food, then you're a criminal.
And that's happening because farmers have been considered criminals for growing outside of jurisdiction.
A couple years back, I covered a story where
It
Mennonites
also gets into cannabis that way.
were busted by SWAT teams for actually selling whole milk.
Yeah, I remember that.
Do you
And
remember
there's
that?
also tomatoes. People that were, I think, selling tomatoes or they were farming.
That was in California, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think that was in California. Well, a lot of things that are farm oriented are in California. That's like where it comes from.
Absolutely unbelievable.
We are a huge farm place.
Oh,
Like in between Sacramento and San Francisco. is a bunch-
California is just British Columbia South.
And then on the top area, it's more like cities and stuff.
But here's
There's like gaps. In these gaps, there's like huge farms.
here's a crazy bit though, and this one is actually eerie because this one will hit home with a lot of people listening that listen to this, and this is weather control.
Oh yeah.
And this guy goes on to say, we can or soon will be able to control the weather. But here's where it gets specific. He goes, I'm not merely referring to dropping iodide crystals into the clouds to precipitate rain. That's already there.
Yeah.
But real control. And weather was seen as a weapon of war, a weapon of influencing public policy. It could make rain or withhold rain in order to influence certain areas and bring them under your control. And that's exactly what happened in California.
Project Popeye, I think they're referencing there because it happened shortly before that.
In Vietnam, yeah. Yeah.
There were two sides to this that were rather striking. He said, on the one hand, you can make drought during the growing seasons so that nothing will grow. And on the other hand, you can make for very heavy rains during the harvest season so the fields are too muddy to bring in the harvest.
Speaking of that, just a couple days ago, we had a hailstorm that was at Walmart, and it was like snow because it had layers, you know.
Dude, they had snow in the Sahara 2 weeks ago.
I'm telling you, they're doing some crazy shit because when that happened, I was like, this has got to be like a HARP thing right here. Like, seriously, I've never experienced. Like, we don't generally get hail here in Sacramento, and then all of a sudden we got one, and it was like this it was literally like a circle or something because it was like you ran right into it, and then when you left it, it was away, you know, and it moved. It was crazy. And everybody thought it was the end of the world. There was accidents and stuff. It was nuts. There was a lightning storm. It was a lightning storm. There was like crazy lightning. It would seem it was like right above us instead of like out there, you know. Anyway, I digress.
No, it's cool, man. No, I'm just I'm scrolling down a bit here. Here's an interesting bit here. Know how people respond, making them do what you want.
Yeah, the double think mentality, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Two
contradictory ideas that kept. Yeah.
It's like it's almost the same
like
concept.
America first.
it's like controlled opposition. It's the same concept.
No, I think what he's talking about is double think, which is conditioning people to subscribe to two polar ideas at the same time.
War is freedom.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's
Slavery is peace.
I don't want to piss off any
Those are
Christians out there,
actual
but
ones that have been used. War is freedom, and slavery is peace.
I don't want to piss off any Christians out there, but it's kind of like the concept of if you feel like you're going to burn in hell, it's a good idea to be saved by God. You get this idea that you are here and I could be here instead. And it's the same kind of offering that they do. It's almost a political thing, I guess.
It seems almost like a mind control thing they're trying to say in this part.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Well,
it is, just soft mind control.
Making them do
Without
what you
saying it
want.
directly, it's in a bunch of jargon, but it's there.
But here's an interesting bit about falsified scientific research.
Oh snap! Oh snap!
Yeah. Hello, NASA. Hello.
Well, that's where you get like, Big Bang equaling 33 and also Genesis.
Well, here's where you get your Flat Earth Society. You got your
NASA is fake.
you got all this stuff. I mean, and then you get your counter arguments. I mean, this also
It's basically just this info.
This bounces back into the last one that we just talked about. You know how people respond, making them do what you want. And then you got the falsified scientific research. I mean, as soon as you get people disagreeing on things, it bounces back to the other.
Agreed. And that creates an argument over nothing. That people will like, because of belief, they will kind of justify and
they'll argue till the end of days. And they won't stop arguing.
Right. And I think that's the goal in this sense. Because it's all about like a distraction or
if you take two strong minds and you pit them against each other, they will continue to argue and not actually solve any solution that benefits anybody. They just sit there and they spin their wheels and they waste their time.
You can't change somebody's mind once they're set on something.
But that's not the point. That's not the point.
That seems to be what the point of the people when they're arguing. It's like they want to change the other person's mind.
No, but I sorry. Maybe I failed in my explanation.
Your explanation was fine. I just wanted to add that.
If you take two strong minds and you pit them against each other, they simply waste each other's time to the point where neither of their minds are useful to anybody.
Yeah, exactly. And you're like talking about pretty much how the truther community has like functioned for a while.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I didn't want to say it. I made a video about this.
They don't like what do you call it, doing research anymore.
No,
or talking about the research that they're doing.
They don't like to go out. They don't like to go outside of their wheelhouse.
If there's an argument and they're focusing on it, they have an opposition, and there's an element of kind of banter between having the opposition. It's like if we are both thinking the same exact thing, then we're not going to be very interesting to listen to communicate. Of course, we have different thoughts about stuff, so that's why we're interesting to listen to.
I think,
but we don't argue. We sometimes debate things, like we don't agree on everything, and that's okay. But once you get into an argument and you start like putting like slurs or like attacking the person, like what is it called? Like personally, it's not about their argument anymore. It's just about the person. That's just messed up, and that doesn't get anything done. It doesn't lead you to any more research. And
ad hominem.
Get any research out. Which is what I'm all about. I'm all about finding research and getting it out.
Yeah, at the end of the day, nothing gets done. And I think the main point of it is that while the parties involved are spinning their wheels and arguing, nothing gets resolved, nothing gets solved, and no major work gets done. What if at the core of it, food had to get made, or electrical power had to be created, but you had two people arguing over what is the right way. Do you think the masses would put up with those two people? I would have them stoned, and I would
No,
fuck
that's,
the, I would
that's
fuck
like
them out. I would
called experts,
fuck
you
them
know,
out
they
of
don't
there,
have
and
to
I'd be
over
like,
nothing.
okay, the next two people who are qualified, like get in and take care of this, because those other two fuck offs are just, they're over there. We just stoned them and we drowned them in the river. But I digress. But I mean, my point is that like we have this thing. Yeah, you're right. In the truth community, we do have this problem, and it's about. I think it's all about ego. To be fair.
Well, me as a researcher, I get annoyed because I try to look for research and then I just find people arguing over things that aren't research based.
That's not research, though. And I see
That's the
people
problem.
arguing.
So I can't find research because, like, it seems like the truth community has become so wrapped up with other things that they.
You're watching other people's
Not
truth.
everybody.
You're
I
watching
found
truth.
some people
You're
in it
watching
that I
truther
still follow.
videos. You're watching videos made by truthers.
Yeah, well, exactly. Well, no, I'm not even talking about. I'm talking about like people, like not even. I don't necessarily follow like big names. I like, you know.
No, but
Follow
I mean any
people.
video. I mean any video created by anybody.
Exactly. I mean, if you're like,
is a guy, is somebody who made something. So you're watching somebody's account and
yeah, exactly.
somebody's research. Now, if they're arguing with somebody else's opinion or counters somebody's opinion, which is often the case in most theories that I've seen, regarding anything, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be.
There's always a devil's advocate.
It could be how to make a steak knife to how to skin a pig. I mean, but at the end of the day, you're always going to see counter opinions. But the order of fighting, when it becomes nasty, then the intent changes. The intent goes from trying to inform people to trying to assert that I am right.
So what about the people that are like doxing other people and things like that? Like that's just messed up. Like that doesn't even.
That's called vindication, and that's evil. Not always, but 99% of the time.
Well, as a viewer, I find that to be just despicable and messed up. And,
it is. I 99% of the time, I think it's despicable too. However, there is the occasion where it could be justified if the person is actually harming you. Dox the motherfucker.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear you there. That makes sense.
All right. If the person is putting you in actual danger, dox the motherfucker and let everybody know. And then that's how you protect yourself. Yeah. But I mean, you don't do it out of spite. You don't do it if there's no threat. I mean, everybody knows what right and wrong is. Everybody knows. I mean, every organism on the planet, whether you're a worm or a snail or a human, you know what is right. You know what feels right.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Well, you also don't want to sink to the same level as these people.
No.
I personally, you know, when we're dealing with psyops, I often ponder: is it okay to engage in psychological operations ourselves, or engage in deceptions? And my personal opinion is no, it's not okay. I think we should stand in truth as opposed to spreading lies.
I agree.
This is just a sort of a moral question then.
Yeah.
Oh, did I tell you about that show? Or I don't know if it's a movie or a show. It's called Push or The Push.
Glitch?
No, The Push.
Oh, The Push.
Yeah.
No.
That's a thing that dropped yesterday, I think, on or day before yesterday on Netflix, and it was like just really bizarre. It was like a whole like psychological experiment, literally, but it was like Truman Show for one person kind of thing, and they mind controlled the person into doing a whole bunch of things, but then like gave him the option at the end either to push this guy off a building or to leave. You know, I don't want to ruin it for you, but yeah, that's fucking crazy. And they had 70 actors inside of a building that they were controlling, and the building and the whole thing was the idea of a charity called Push, and they actually had actual actors on like a screen saying that it's a I think British or UK film or whatever, and it's done like a first episode of a show type of way how it plays out, but it's only as long as like a movie. Darren something, I think, some guy over there that does experimentation with street magic or something like that. I'm not sure. Darren something. And then it's called The Push. But yeah, it was bizarre, to say the least, because they basically, he was running the whole thing. This Darren guy was running the whole thing from like monitors and talking to people on the thing, and everyone that you've seen was an actor that knew their part and was basically the whole creepy element of it was they were pushing this guy into killing a person, or at least thinking that he was going killing a person, or
Right.
accomplishing a certain scenario, because the guy ends up like so-called dying, and then they put his body inside of a casket type of thing, and it's just and he has to kind of act like, oh, this guy, you know, he has to act, the guy that they're Truman showing has to act like none of this is happening, and he has to like act like everybody, like the show must go on kind of thing, and he's got to like pull off this whole charity thing, and then they make him out to be the guy that's dead because nobody knows who the actual contributor is. The guy that they end up moving all around and stuff, who's supposedly dead, it's kind of like you know, Weekend at Bernie's type of thing. Reminded me of that. But they actually made a dummy that was so human realistic, literally had bone structure and veins and shit. Creepy. And to me, that seemed like, okay, if they could do that, who's to say they haven't with these false flags? And they're just showing us how they do it with this show.
Well, it's the shit show, and it's on 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
I'm just scrolling down through the document here. There's actually a disturbing piece I didn't read earlier. And it says economic interdependence would foster this goal. Now, the goal would be that people would be more and more used to the idea of relinquishing some national sovereignty. Yeah.
All right, globalization.
Economic interdependence would foster this goal from a peaceful standpoint. Avoidance of war would foster it from the standpoint of worrying about hostilities. It was recognized that doing it peaceably was better than doing it by war. It was stated at this point that war was obsolete. And he goes to say, I thought that was an interesting phrase because obsolete means something that once was seen as useful is no longer useful. But war is obsolete. This being because of the nuclear bombs, war is no longer controllable.
Yeah.
Formerly,
they may have scalar weaponry that outdoes the nuclear bombs now.
I think you missed the point. I think what he's trying to say is that,
But that makes sense then.
I think it makes as much sense then as it does now. I think the
Right,
point
because
that he's trying to
essentially
make
we all
is
have
that
the same powers.
what?
because we all have the same powers. It's like nobody has more than the other type of thing. So it's
Yeah, I think he's trying to say that the playground has a level playground. It's a level field. That the problem isn't the weapons. The problem is who wields them.
right, and it's the powers that are annoying that yields them.
Interesting shit. What do you guys think?
Yeah, and the nuclear technology was given to the Soviet Union in the 40s.
Yeah, Operation Paperclip.
No, not through paperclip. It was paperclip was the transfer of Nazi scientists from Germany to the United States. But
That was
what I'm talking about is
that was number 4.
yeah, it was actual transfer of
That was a spy. What's
nuclear through spies, the nuclear bomb technology to the Soviet Union through the back channels, which was what allowed the Soviets to develop their own atomic bomb so quickly. Yeah, so the whole Cold War was phony.
Yeah, it was staged.
Yeah, and the United States was
thing is going on today, but yeah,
financing the construction of factories in the Soviet Union during the Cold War, with American taxpayer money. For instance, the largest truck factory in the world, the Kama River Truck Factory, which produced military trucks for the Red Army during the Cold War, and which still exists today, was financed through, I think it was Allen Dulles.
Oh, please say Ford. No.
It was Ford was involved, but it was built by Ford. But the person who, Allen Dulles was the mastermind behind the whole financing of Soviet heavy industry with American taxpayer money.
Wow. And you know what, though? This is the separation of information from people. People don't get to actually connect the dots. They don't get to see this stuff. Like in the 40s, moms would send their husbands off to war, and they'd come back or they don't. But I mean, at the end of the day, they didn't see the cause and effect of why they went to where they went and who was responsible. I mean,
people still don't see it, even though we have all this incredible
we have
connection.
We have an amazing way of disseminating information and relaying it to other people, but yet we're still caught up in the same bullshit where we are fooled.
Yeah, it's just not much more sophisticated. Back in the 40s, it was enough to just post a bunch of posters on the walls in the subway, like buy war bonds and something like that. It doesn't work anymore, so they had to evolve, but the results are still the same.
Right.
And
the sheep are marching to their slaughter every year.
We have to ask ourselves the question: have we changed that much over these years?
Are you talking about psychological changes or physiological?
In general, have we changed at all? Like, I mean, even with all this technology and with the ability to
psychologically, I think mentally and psychologically, yes. The social media generation is so different from the baby boomers.
But have our habits changed, and has our motivations changed? I guess you could say, because I mean, so many people I know are clouded They're clouded by even in the presence of all of this information, they're still just as dumb as some 1940s lock wife, you know?
Yeah, well, one of the problems with all this information and that there is just so much of it that it takes an extremely disciplined person to be able to pick out the right bits of information and put them into something resembling a coherent picture. And and that requires a lot of time and a lot of background knowledge, a little bit of intuition too, and not everybody has that. And you can be given access to the world's largest library, but if you don't even know what's in it, like where do you start? Where do you can pick up a book off a shelf and start reading it, but it's not going to make you any smarter.
Right.
It's not going to make you understand the world any better. If it's just if you're just randomly picking books off shelves, which is what essentially the internet is. It's the world's largest library with no index.
Yeah,
and you go and pick up a book, you think about it before you take it, or you decide to read it. You like examine it. You go through like the covers. You go through who wrote it and things like that. And
but you
decide, okay,
how many books can you? Yeah, how many books can you read in your life? Maybe I don't know, maybe 1,000.
Not these days. It's like harder to read. There's too many distractions. Everybody's trying to stop me from reading.
That's true.
But I also kind of equate it to like a number of assholes in a room. Like, how many assholes in a room does it take to discuss XYZ? Yeah.
Yeah.
And you got the internet, which basically just makes the room a whole lot bigger with more assholes.
Agreed.
Okay. And like, and I'm actually not trying to speak in a disrespectful tone at all to anybody. What I'm trying to say is that you've got this gigantic room full of assholes. I mean, it becomes the onus is now the responsibility. The responsibility is on the person that is wielding the tool of judgment. The person who is able to decipher all of the asshole talk in the room. I mean, the bigger the room gets, the larger your responsibility gets. Does that make any sense?
Of an old chat bar.
Huh?
It kind of reminds me of the old ways of chatting, like in a chat room.
Well,
because like when you go in there, you wouldn't be known, and you'd have to make yourself known.
But that's if you're actually interacting.
And they
with
were all
them.
assholes essentially until they accepted you.
But that's if you're interacting with them. The assholes could just be writing something down and putting it there to be retrieved later. They might not even interact with you. My point is that it's up to the person who is actually interacting with that room. It's up to them and their judgment in order to conduct themselves appropriately. And it always boils back down to personal responsibility, which, by the way, when you do equate it back to personal responsibility, that means every single asshole in that room has the same responsibility themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, like, this can go to a granular sense. I mean, we can dig this back, but the thing is that the system doesn't work that way. Now it is mechanized. Now we have artificial intelligence. Now we got Scroogle. Now we got
right.
all these other systems.
I forgot about throwing the artificial intelligence in there.
The assholes in the room just got a whole lot shadier. I mean, for the most part. Anyway, that's where I'm going to end that rant. Okay. I'm sorry. What do you think?
Yeah, well, the internet is the medium that allows people to completely lose it and have no consequences. So it's definitely not the healthiest environment. That's why I try to stay off social media as much as possible, unless I have a specific job to do, like trying to spread some information or
And that's where
engage
I'm at.
somebody. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where I'm at with this thing. I mean, I don't. I got caught up in a trap a couple years ago. Um, you know, doing the YouTube thing and everything else, and um, I'm not making a career out of this. It's not my thing, and I actually lost touch with what I wanted to do. To be fair, you know, I wanted to create awareness. I wanted to help people. I wanted to save them. Blah blah blah. Hence, save the silly humans, right? But I mean, at the time though, I did get caught up in the whole popularity bit, right? It happened. I did.
Yeah, well, that can happen to anybody.
But fuck, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it's very obvious. If you're not shoving anything up your bum, you're not making money on fucking YouTube.
Yep.
That's the bottom line now. Or you know, reviewing movies or doing freaking tech reviews of shit games. I mean,
Unboxing. These are my favorite unboxing videos.
Oh,
This is the stupidest thing you can possibly do.
unboxing.
Unboxing. And
You know what?
those videos get millions of views. I don't understand it. It's the stupidest thing.
You know what I'm gonna do?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
when I found that out, I was looking for one of those hoverboard things, and I ended up watching people unbox this hoverboard.
You're getting,
But they don't test them. They don't run them through their paces. They don't. It's not like a 6 months test or 1 year test or 1,000 hour test. Or it's just I took it out of the box. Oh, hey, it has it feels quality, right? You know, oh, there's a bit of weight to it. Like, oh, this feature feels like it's well made. Yeah, yeah, that's bullshit. This is not how.
you just gave me a great idea.
Well, that's a good way to make money. That's for sure. Especially if you can get some kind of deal with a company. Or
Yeah, they probably are doing that.
yeah,
I'm gonna unbox Roadkill. That's
There you
what I'm gonna do. Yeah.
where do you
Anyway.
find those? Anyway,
On the road.
Hopefully.
do emergency pull over and jump out and scrape
Find it
this
on the
stuff.
sidewalk, you got to throw it on the road.
Oh no, I live right near a country road. There's squirrels, there's raccoons, there's skunks, there's all kinds of roadkill. No, but I'll unbox a new one every week. I guarantee. Do that on YouTube. Ooh, I'm so excited. What do I got this day?
Oh,
Yeah,
snap.
baby. Yeah. Wow, that was horribly excessive.
Well, but the whole internet thing to me almost is like because people seem to not care about what they put out, like as if it's like right in their head. They're just like going to tell you about it, like on the online, because of this happened. Oh, I'm going to write about it. You know what I mean? It's almost like a stepping stone to the bad version of something.
Totalitarian,
Teletubbies.
Not
Teletubbies.
telepathy. There it is. Telepathy. It's like
Telepathy.
another telepathy element, like a stepping stone to it. But the bad version, like in a sense that, you don't really want to know what was in people's heads. And I don't really want to know what people are doing at 5 o'clock in the morning. I mean, it's just like, why do when I go on Facebook, and I don't go on Facebook, but when I do on accident or whatever, just because some reason brought me there, I learned so many mindless things that I didn't want to know.
Yeah, it's the-
About people that I didn't want to even know about.
But you know what? Here's the thing.
I'm like, why are
It's
these
like,
my friends?
hey, don't think of a white elephant.
Yeah.
What's the first thing you thought of? You know what I mean? Like, and this is
Yeah, exactly. Like that is exactly what I thought of. I mean, how do you not think of what you just told me?
exactly. Even though I told you not to think of it, right? That's
Right. It's like
exactly
I
what you're gonna
can't
think
stop
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah, the social media should really be called anti-social media because
of. Fuck.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because
Hey,
all the
there's
people
your name, Pug.
all that people do there is create alter egos. Do you really think that you have say you have a Facebook account and you have say 300 friends? Do you really think that most of those accounts that are supposed to be your friends that do they really represent those individuals? No, those are carefully crafted online personas that are
Yeah.
presented by those people as themselves, but they don't. They obviously don't show anything negative about
The
themselves. It's
person
just
that I
it's a
portray as
popularity contest.
is
Yeah,
not really me.
yeah,
Not
and
only
then
that, it's
obviously that's
also
great. But one second, Robert.
Go ahead.
When
sorry.
when you look at when you look at those profiles, for many people forget about how they themselves create alter egos. They think that those people, they have it so much better than I. Look, they have all these. They're posing in front of a freaking Ferrari, or they went to um, Europe with their girlfriend. Oh, they have it so much better than I do. And my life sucks. And these people have it so much better. Screw them. Like I don't want to be like. That's why I'm calling social media anti-social media, and it doesn't promote any kind of real friendship or anything like that.
No, and it's like
It's
you only
very
post
passive aggressive.
well, I mean, generally, you only post stuff that's like positive on that level. I mean, unless you want to post
Yeah,
negative
don't
stuff.
post negative or anything.
Like I've seen, like for instance, my sister posts a lot of negative stuff for some reason, but like I only post whenever I'm posting anything. It's like generally associated with like my things I'm doing or whatever. Not like telling you what I'm doing, but like actually showing a picture or whatever. Like that kind of stuff. Because I'm a cosplayer, so I'll take pictures of me as a cosplayer with people, and then those end up on there. And that's not really me, right? That's like another persona of my Facebook persona, and my Facebook persona is not really me anyway. It's like
but you're acting inside of an acting shell on social media, so it's completely it's a self-contained system though, if you follow.
Well, I've been doing that on purpose since
but
I
it's
heard
not
about
you. It's not what I'm trying to say. It's not you acting as you.
Exactly. Yeah. But I mean, I don't, show myself other than like the pictures or whatever. I never go on and post like information. Like people post.
You're not on trial here. Don't worry. I think in a general sense, though, people that a lot of people, act rather passive aggressively on social media. I think that's what I think. I think that's what Bug was trying to get to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, Bug. Totally.
And yeah, the promotes what do you call it? Jealousy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Yeah. Did you catch on the thread there on Twitter earlier, Bug, where I was saying that I'm not passive aggressive? I said I'm aggressively passive.
No, I didn't read that far.
I am. I'm aggressively passive.
You guys had quite a time there today. I don't have.
I had some fun, but at the same time, I was trying to be logical and be respectful. And there was a lot of opinions being dropped, and then some science and this and that. And I'm not a guru of I just know what I know from what I've read. I mean, and but again, like you were saying, there's a lot of positioning, and people will build their stance, whether it's from a religious side or whether it's from a scientific side. And they're like, well, can you prove what you say? And do you have any valid proof? Or and if it's a spiritual side, sometimes it'd be like, actually, they don't say anything. They just say, well, if you don't believe the Bible, then fuck off. But, generally speaking, though, like, you're always being cocked up to one side. And that's the nature of the internet, though.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
It's the nature of people on the internet. Sorry,
Yeah.
let me reiterate.
The anonymity is definitely a big factor in it.
Yeah, and
Well, it's like
again,
there's always somebody that's going to go against whatever you're saying.
well, I don't.
I mean, in social.
Well, okay. There's cause versus effect. I think what it is that somebody will have the balls to go against what you're saying because they think that they can be anonymous saying
Yeah.
you, and I don't agree with you
They
because
wouldn't do that if they were like talking to you maybe on the
face to
phone
face,
or face to face,
absolutely.
or maybe on like one of these.
Yeah, and this is where we get into the armchair warrior category. People are a lot braver and a lot more, brazen, I guess you could use as a term, when they don't have to confront the person that they're in argument with. Now, I'm not saying this is the case all the time. I'm just speaking very generalistically. uh, it is frustrating sometimes, but when you get in the right circles with the right people, you know how to manage yourselves, and it's all good.
Yeah.
End of.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey, thumbs up matches thumbs down. 11 versus 11.
Oh, that's an achievement.
That's master number there.
Holy Christ.
We had 9/11 just a little while ago.
That's
yeah.
Today's 3-3. Well, now it's not. It was. It's like when we started, it was. Well, at least over here. I don't know if it was over there. Because you started at midnight, right?
Robert Sinclair said, who would give this a thumbs down? Apparently 11 people.
Yeah. So they decided to watch and then give us a thumbs down.
I got a lot of haters. I'm sorry, guys. I do. And
I think they just do it just to get on your, I don't believe those things. Those thumbs up and thumbs down. I don't believe them. I think they're made to psychologically mess with you.
Yeah, probably, but I did piss some people off a couple years ago.
It gives you a dopamine level.
Yes, it does. Yep.
Get something, and it's like that's how they keep us coming back for more.
That's true. Yeah, they keep.
You remember Next Generation when they had that thing where they were playing that virtual game, and then there was like lit things go into it, like this little funneling thing, and then these little balls that went into, you'd like do it with your mind, you'd make them go in there, and then it would give them like a dopamine rush or whatever. They would like feel some sort of pleasure from it.
That was like season 2 of Next Generation, wasn't it?
Yeah, that reminds me of that. Like that's basically what the internet does for us.
That was a Deanna Troi episode, wasn't it?
What? No, that was a Jordy. I mean, not Jordy. What's his? Will Wheaton's character. I can't remember his name all of a sudden. He got like a girlfriend, and they were like,
oh right,
playing that.
Yeah.
And everybody else.
She had him so doped up, and everybody's like, "Hey, dope."
Yeah, and everybody else was like, they figured it out that everybody else was like all like in this having the problem, and then she ended up doing it because they got her, and then he was the last one.
Yeah, I remember now. Yeah.
Yeah, so like I'm thinking like that's kind of like on a dopamine level perception of, because they said on the news that they, I don't know, you don't believe that shit, but that's what they said. The statistics said that they were getting dopamine levels when you get likes. It's like a rush.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't affect me, but that's just because I'm not that deeply in that shit.
Hey, this part, fear porn,
Yeah, go ahead.
surveillance, implants, and televisions that watch you.
Watch you, which is now happening. They tell us that happens now.
Well,
Even when the TV set is off.
This was thought of in 1969. How does a motherfucker in 1969 know about TVs that will watch you? Because even in 1988, even when the tapes were recorded in 1988,
they didn't have that technology. Well, that we didn't think they had that technology.
We did not have those smart TVs in 1988. You know what I'm saying?
What did the military though?
Did the military
probably at the working prototype?
But hang on, did the military have some kind of branch that worked with Planned Parenthood that would somehow tell this guy, Dr. Richard Day? Was Dr. Richard Day in the military? I don't think so.
No, sounds like a.
But he could have sat on some corporate boards.
Now we're getting closer to something, I think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, continue on there, FPP. I'll be right back. I just have to go to the little boy's room.
What was I saying? Oh, I was going to say something about the, I don't know. Bug, have you seen that show, Black Mirror?
No, I don't. I hardly watch anything at all. I try to avoid it as much as possible. I do not enjoy any of those shows anyway.
Showtime or HBO, but anyway, it's like a UK like you know, like Twilight.
I heard about it. I just haven't seen any of the episodes.
But it shows like technology on an evil level and where it heads in a sense on certain things. So one of these is where they were doing these rating systems where you had like this thing in your head or whatever that where you can look at another person and on the side of them you would see a number pop up and that would be their rating and that number is connected to like your phone and your phone.
Yeah, so social media profile, right?
So yeah, it was like social media profiling in real life.
Yeah, that's what the Chinese government is trying to implement, by the way.
I bet you Robert's seen it.
Yeah, that's what the Chinese government is trying to implement, where they would rate each citizen based on his online activity and his willingness to go along. And yeah,
pretty much that's it.
Except you have a score like a credit score. They would give you a score of how quote unquote good of a citizen you are. Yeah, that's definitely in the works.
Yeah, so it's how this would play out is like the character would go up to another character, like say at work or whatever, and you know they would both rate each other after they have the discussion with each other. It was very strange because they would be like blah blah blah, hi, how are you doing, blah blah blah, and you see the different interactions and who rated who and how and why they rated them that way, kind of thing, and you're following this character who goes to her desk or something, and then she's trying to get invited to some sort of wedding with this person, and so she takes a picture of because she knows this person. She sees this person has a high rating on the thing, and she used to be a best friend or something like that. So she takes a picture of the thing and then sends it, and then all of a sudden that person talks to her. So it's like this manipulation element because it's like she wouldn't have taken the picture of that thing and sent it to her. You see what I mean? Or I mean, she didn't send it to her. She sent it online, and then the other person saw it, and then texted her and was like, "Oh, you know, you should come to my wedding, blah blah blah," and all that. It was very strange.
Yeah, well, don't people do that on social media anyway? It's
an extension of how we rate each other in these social environments, and will we do this to each other in real life? Because that's what it's showing. It's showing real life. Like these people were actually rating each other physically. They would go on the elevator and have a conversation and rate each other afterward. And I was like, what? Crazy.
Yeah, I can totally see this coming. I wouldn't be surprised, yeah.
Yeah, she'd get in the cab, and the cab would rate her, and she'd rate him. That reminded me of the Uber.
Yeah. Yeah.
Except it was except it was right away. It was like the Uber kind of thing seems to be like take some time to actually show your ratings and stuff.
I've never used it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I haven't either. I just seen other people.
I'm back.
Oh, so you know what we're talking about?
Yeah, I was listening in for the last 45 seconds.
You seen that Black Mirror episode?
Black Mirror? I highly recommend anybody.
Season 3, first episode, the woman that ends up rating other people and they rate her.
It's the entire series at its onset is beautifully horrible.
Yeah, I know, right?
May I say that?
I think that's a great interpretation.
I mean, it's brilliantly written, well scripted. I actually, it's really funny because with most shows, you have a lot of predictive programming. All right. However, Black Mirror is a little bit different. It's almost anti-predictive programming, in my opinion. And I say that loosely only because I'm very aware of symbolism and things that happen in the shows that we watch. You must know, right?
Yeah. Although Bug Smasher doesn't seem to watch it. Well, he didn't see this.
Oh well, Bug, you gotta see the show. And it's not like a series that is continuous. Every single episode is like a mini movie. It's kind of like the Twilight Zone or like Outer Limits. It's its own creature every time. So you're not gonna have to fall in love with a cast member. Nothing besides, if you do, probably will die anyway. But
yeah, you don't want to fall.
Most likely. But it's a very, very ingenious show because it takes the symbolism that all of us truthers, it takes the numerology that all of us truther guys will actually go and try to analyze, and it comes up with nothing. The show literally turns everything that we bitch about on its head, but at the same time informs people of how dangerous the technology is. And
yeah,
it's a very, very
like a commonality level. Like these people are just living this way.
Well, I mean, did you see season 4?
Yeah.
I mean, the very first episode of season 4 is literally it's like a Star Trek show.
It's a Star Trek show. Yeah, it was like a Star Trek episode, but it was done brilliantly and creepily.
Absolutely. And that guy who played the captain, he did the best.
He looked like he was like a brother of Matt Damon or something like that.
He's like, yeah, he was from Maze Runner. It's the same guy. It's the same guy from Maze Runner. He was also in the Revenant. The one with
I didn't see that.
Oh, you haven't seen Revenant?
No.
Anyway, I digress. But anyway, he did the best Captain Kirk impersonation ever. he was really good. But anyway, why did they do the show, right? Well, they did the show because, well, obviously starships don't exist, and it was a simulation inside of a Matrix kind of environment.
Yeah, that was
and the captain of the ship was actually just some loserish computer programmer
He
at
was
a,
the
at a server
Yeah,
farm.
Jeff has done a breakdown of that whole episode.
Oh,
Jeff,
did he?
yeah, he's done a whole breakdown of that episode, and he wasn't particularly happy with the message
Yeah,
there.
he did do that. I heard that. It was good.
Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't.
He was very disturbed.
Yeah, he was critical of it.
I believe me, it is disturbing. It's very disturbing.
They end up like, copying people, and it's like if you got your consciousness copied and your conscious remember,
this is
then
where
it's
I
like another
was.
you. It's like messed up.
This is where I was heading with it. Is that, see, like I said, it's brilliantly horrible and elegantly horrible, and in the writing of that particular story, this guy just kidnaps people digitally and stores them, and their life versions have no idea that their digital version of themselves is imprisoned inside this server, and all they want to do is escape. I mean, it's kind of terrifying if you think about it, because imagine if
Actually, technically, we all wanted to die.
if you got duplicated and you were you and you woke up in any environment, in a virtual environment somewhere, but the thing was, is like, you still think you're you. The other you is living in real life being you, has no idea that the other you, which is still you, it's terrifying. Like, can you imagine? Like, yeah.
Did you see the Christmas special?
The what?
The Christmas special?
What, a Black Mirror?
Yeah.
I don't know which one the Christmas special was, because I just watched the chain of them on Netflix.
It might have been separate, but it starred that guy from Mad Men, and he basically was a programmer, or he would like actually take people's things and put them into a thing, and it was all for programming the person that was going to control your house, because it's basically you. It's like a piece of you inside of this little shell thing, and he trains it, and it's really creepy because he basically takes this person and communicates with her, and she's in this like kind of virtual environment.
I remember that episode. That's from season 2.
Okay, so yeah, it was the Christmas special or whatever. It supposedly took place in Christmas.
Yeah, and she's in there for
so that's set up for this
years.
This one that we know now. It's like it's set up the same kind of technology.
Well, there's another episode in season 3 where guy wakes up in a cabin in the woods kind of scenario, and Buddy's making breakfast for him, and it's like, hey, what's going on, buddy? Like, I just woke up, and you're making breakfast, so that's good. Yeah, let's talk about stuff for a while. Anyway, it goes on and on and on, but by the end of it all, it turns out that he's actually in a simulated environment. The guy making breakfast is actually an agent trying to crack him for a crime, a murder that he committed.
Yeah, I remember that. That was a little.
You remember that one?
Yeah.
And it's a brilliant episode, absolutely brilliant, because it really tugs at the heartstrings. I mean, he goes right.
What about the one where the girl is like constantly like being like monitored by all these people, and then you find out that she was like a person that killed people?
Oh yeah, that one. That was called White Bear. Was it White Bear?
Yeah, that one was a good reveal, set up and like how it played out. Very
and during the credits, you know what?
I felt for the person, even though like she supposedly killed people.
The most horrible part of that episode was the rolling out the credits at the end, because they were still playing it out, and they're rolling her out. She's still oblivious, and all the people are just watching her as they roll her out. Oh yeah, Bug. yeah, you're probably unaware of what's going on with what we're talking about here. A woman wakes up in a chair, not knowing how she got there. She wakes up, she looks around, there's a picture. She sees a picture on the desk, and it's a picture of a young girl. Now she's like mulatto, and the girl is mulatto in the picture, so she assumes that it's her daughter. So it's like she has this like affinity with the picture. She's like, okay, I have a daughter, but I don't know who I am. And then goes outside, and people are like in windows and houses, like, with their cell phones pointed at her, like, like filming her, and people on the street, but kind of like zombies almost, like,
Yeah, they were very zombie-esque. I was
yeah,
thinking that too.
it's totally like a zombie like kind of like environment, and she's just wandering around and completely, like, what's going on?
And nobody will talk to her or help her or anything.
No, and then you get some people with crazy ass freaking animal masks come out with shotguns chasing after her, shooting at her, and she just starts running. But nobody will help her.
Nobody will help her.
The people with the phones are just like
They
filming
just
her. They're just filming her and staying completely out of the way and what have you. And yeah, it gets really, really bizarre. It goes down a big rabbit hole. And at the end of the day, we find out that she's gone through this cycle over and over and over again, because that's her punishment for killing somebody, because she's a criminal. And
they killed the person
they drug her and put her back in that chair and make her go through the same rigmarole every single freaking time. And she's been doing it for weeks. And that's why her memory is fucked. That's why it is really fucking disturbing, dude.
Yeah.
Hey, hey Rob. Sorry, I have to jump out because it's 12:30 here, and I have some things to do tomorrow morning. So I'll probably be leaving.
Oh, so you're at the same time as me. It's 12:30.
Yeah, when we are in the same time zone. I just I know it's Sunday tomorrow, but I have.
Oh, Rob's on the other side, huh?
Yeah.
Well, it's 3:30 here as well, and you know what? It's probably a great jump off point for the show tonight. I mean, we did jump around quite a bit, but yeah, that was surveillance implants and televisions that watch you. That's where we left off.
That's where we were.
Yeah.
And no, I look forward to getting back together again, guys. I think we will shut her down.
Okay.
Yeah, it's probably a good time to do it because everybody wants to go to bed already.
Yeah, probably. Especially the people where you are.
Yeah, Rob. The sun is going to rise pretty soon in your neck.
Fuck the East Coast. I digress. Anyway, yeah, I don't mean any disrespect.
So we'll pick it up and then do a part 3. I mean, there's still more on this thing, right?
Yeah, there's a lot more.
There is a lot more, and I'd love to do a part 3. And guys, I really thank you guys for hanging out with me, and I love to thank the listeners and all the people that came out. And by the way, we did have an appearance from Crystal and Maya. We had Michael Mancock, Ava Rainbow, among others. Crystal Blankenheim, miss you, hun. You're a good friend and mate, and I hope you're well. Anyway, do you guys want to tell people how to find yourselves or what?
Sure.
Go ahead, Bug.
I'm on Twitter at Real Bug Smasher. So yeah, if you want, you can check out my page there. I also post Patreon shows on my YouTube account now because those are being taken down. And that's about it.
Fearport?
Okay, I have a gematria blog at conspiracy, or no, it's con KON5PIRACY.blogspot.com, just like a database. And then I have a channel, Conspiracy with a K, KONSPI, or it's like two words, cons and then piracy, which is this one. And then the Fear Porn Propaganda is mainly podcasting and whatnot, although I sometimes post things there. But yeah, you're welcome to follow. And then I think I have something on Twitter, and that's under CodeQuest or EDocSook, which is CodeQuest backwards. So there you go.
Well, guys, I really appreciate you hanging out with me tonight. And George McFly.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I just had to say that out loud. Anyway, but yeah, no. It was an interesting night. I know we kind of flew off on several different tangents, but hopefully we kept on point most of the time. And I look forward to doing it again.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Yeah.
Thanks for having me as well.
Hey, and thanks for being here. And guys, everyone listening, tune in next time for, well, this was 2.5. We'll have to do like 2.75 before we get to 3, I guess. Anyway.
Yeah, okay. You have a plan.
That's funny.
Right? Anyway, cheers, guys, and good night.